Chapter 642. The purple star trembled with boundless divine might and divine power. The power of heaven drifted and guided the purple star to form a purple divine sword. The connate divine power came from the purple divine sword. Jiang Chongkong was slightly shocked. Was Heavenly Monarch Ziwei going to become an immortal emperor? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei guided the divine sword's power, and faint connate divine patterns appeared in the air. Today, I will kill you and become an immortal emperor. Purple energy surged like a purple river. The divine sword slashed down. Under the support of the heaven's power, the innate divine might was only slightly weaker than the flame spear that Shao Chen had encountered previously. The four divine beasts roared, and the connate divine power became even stronger. It was also only weaker than a complete God-Emperor treasure. Rumble! The heavenly cycle star array activated, and the power of countless stars surged. Under the enhancement of the great heavenly cycle star formation, the stars glowed faintly, as if ancient divine stars were reviving. Jiang Chongkong's expression was indifferent. This power had far surpassed Kuan Yu, who had a God-Emperor treasure. Just as he was about to attack, a divine sword exuding an evil aura flew out and landed in his hand. Roar! Arg! The blood-curdling screams and wails sounded as if countless evil ghosts had crawled out from hell. Countless blood-colored figures shuttled around Jiang Chongkong. The Wu-slaying sword. There were no connate divine patterns, but there were countless vengeful souls. There was another unique aura, the wails of despair and the rage of vengeful souls. Jiang Chongkong held the Wu-slaying sword and injected chaotic divine power into it. The demonic sound attacked the heavenly cycle star array. The purple light dimmed. The star that formed the four great divine beasts was also extinguished. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was shocked and angry. Wu-slaying sword! Ziwei, you're still far from it. Jiang Chongkong slashed out, and countless human vengeful souls turned into a blood-colored sword projection like a river of blood. Countless human figures struggled frantically in the river of blood. The smell of blood was extremely dense everywhere it passed. The four divine beasts were disintegrating, and the purple light was disappearing. Boom! The blood of an immortal monarch splashed across space. The bodies of godly monarchs were torn apart by countless vengeful souls. The eerie Wu-slaying sword not only slaughtered shamans, but also immortals. The purple star was sliced in half, and Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was sent flying. His purple divine sword was sent flying, and only half of it remained. My Ziwei sword! Heavenly Monarch Ziwei yelled and hurriedly reached for the sword. Buzz! The power of heaven fluctuated as the Ziwei sword tore through space and disappeared into the spatial crack. No! Heavenly Monarch Ziwei let out an enraged roar as he reached into the spatial rift, but he was unable to grab onto the Ziwei sword. He could only watch as half of the sword flew away. It seems like Heavenly Monarch Ziwei is not the Ziwei sword. Jiang Chongkong smiled coldly and said, "There was a fluctuation of heavenly power earlier. The heavenly Tao did not choose you. The North Star Emperor is probably someone else." Qi, and said, Heavenly Emperor Tao, his eyes said, the divine star, star. You used the power of heaven to take away my Ziwei sword. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei almost lost his mind in anger. The shattered purple star entered his body, and his divine might broke through the limit. Kill! Furious roars sounded. Several immortal monarchs rushed out of the star, including immortal monarch Pejuan. How are you going to struggle after losing the connate divine might and the array? Jiang Chongkong smiled disdainfully. The Wu-slaying sword's thousands of blood souls rose again. The eerie bloody light seemed to want to devour these immortal monarchs. The bloody light slashed down, and the vengeful souls took their lives. Heads flew, bodies broke, and godly monarchs died. Chaotic divine power forcefully collected the souls, but unfortunately, their souls were restricted and couldn't be collected. No godly monarch could withstand the bloody light. They could only stay alive. When the bloody light approached Heavenly Monarch Ziwei, a golden light shot out of his body and took him into space. So he really is an important figure of the heavenly court. Jiang Chongkong walked among the godly monarch corpses and collected the resources. Thinking about Kuan Yu, he didn't feel disappointed that he couldn't kill Heavenly Monarch Ziwei this time. However, he didn't expect that Heavenly Monarch Ziwei would dare to kill him with just these few people and these few tricks. Weren't they just here to give him resources? Jiang Chongkong counted the resources of these immortal monarchs. There were a total of 6 immortal monarchs. Immortal monarch Pejuan's death could be considered to have completed his deal with the heavenly court. These 6 immortal monarchs weren't as rich as he had imagined. Each of them only had 900,000 essence, energy, and spirit. As for the heaven power in their bodies, only 3 of them had committed a grave sin. 7 million essence, energy, and spirit. It was already 11 million. Before the secondary body arrived, he could first improve his chaotic Tao body. After putting away immortal monarch Pejuan's corpse, Jiang Chongkong began to improve. The heaven fragment shook again. Jiang Chongkong's postnatal chaotic Tao body reached perfection. The connate divine pattern was evolving rapidly. It was only 20% away from perfection. The azure light in his body was extremely dense. His divine power also increased and strengthened. A terrifying power surged in his body. This time, suppressing a god emperor's treasure was not difficult at all. Jiang Chongkong tried to suppress the heaven fragment, but he still couldn't suppress it. On the other hand, the demon ancestor and the monster emperor took the initiative to move the divine artifact origin that they found. When he reached the celestial emperor level, he should be able to beat these 2 divine artifact origins. However, should he give the monster emperor immortal position and this fragment to his secondary body? It didn't seem to be of much use to him. This time, his secondary body came here to bring something back to stabilize his position as the monster emperor. The monster emperor immortal position and this fragment will be given to my secondary body. After making up his mind, Jiang Chongkong looked at his own data. Jiang Chongkong, Peak Immortal King, God King, 6th Revolution Mystic Art, Perfection, 1/24. 3 million postnatal chaotic Tao body, Perfection, 1/24. 3 million Golden Crow Immortal Sutra, Deshang, 3037, 500/3037, 500 Essence, Energy, and Spirit, 3003320 Inch Divine King Crimson Wood. Let's wait for my secondary body to arrive. Jiang Chongkong closed his eyes. His secondary body was about to arrive. In the void, the golden runes that sealed off the space also disappeared. Rumble! A terrifying power erupted, shaking 10,000 miles. Billowing demonic chi swept across 10,000 miles. A giant python dragged the golden crow chariot over. Buzz! At this moment, a golden light smashed down and landed on the chariot. How dare you sneak attack the monster emperor in front of me? Sun Wuxing was shocked and angry. He was a limit celestial king, the divine ape of Mount Huagua. How dare he not give him face? Don't be angry, divine ape. I am heavenly monarch Ziwei of the heavenly court. I have something to discuss with the monster emperor. The golden light dissipated and purple light flashed. Immortal King Ziwei, whose hair was disheveled, stood up. Ziwei? Sun Yuan was shocked. Why are you here? And look at you, did someone beat you up? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei blushed with a complicated expression. There was humiliation, anger, and a strong sense of unwillingness. Sun Yuan sneered. You failed to kill the heavenly god of justice and were beaten back by him, right? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's face convulsed. I came to cooperate with the monster emperor. The current heavenly god of justice is no longer someone an immortal king can deal with. Tisk tsk, haven't we always been cooperating? Your heavenly court is responsible for capturing people, and the monster emperor is responsible for dealing with them. Chapter 643. The previous heavenly monarch Ziwei was extremely noble and lofty, and he didn't put Jiang Chongkong in his eyes at all. If it weren't for the fact that heavenly monarch Ziwei was wary of his immortal title, he wouldn't have taken him seriously at all. Back then, when they worked together, it was also the heavenly court who captured the person, and the demon emperor who was in charge of killing him. This way, he would not take the blame and would not anger the heavenly Tao. Now, he had finally made up his mind to kill. In the end, heavenly monarch Ziwei was no match for heavenly monarch Ziwei, and he was forced to flee in a sorry state. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression darkened. You also want to deal with Jiang Chongkong? This heavenly monarch has just fought with him, and although I lost, I have gained some understanding of him. Could it be that heavenly monarch Ziwei is going to help the demon monarch? Sun Wuxing asked. Heavenly monarch Ziwei suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "Some experience will be helpful to demon monarchs." Sun Yuan said indifferently, "Then wait, old ape will ask the demon sovereign." Heavenly monarch Ziwei was becoming more and more displeased. In the past, he couldn't even be bothered to look at the heavenly god of justice. The demon emperor was disdainful and didn't take it seriously. Now, it seemed like he couldn't afford to offend them. He couldn't defeat heavenly god Jiang Chongkong, and now that he had been defeated, he had to seek the demon emperor's permission. The spirit king is in the palanquin behind us. We didn't even try to conceal our conversation. Can't he hear us? This was completely making him look bad. Demon monarch, heavenly court's young monarch Ziwei requests an audience, Sun Yuan said respectfully. Young King Ziwei requests an audience. Have I fallen to such a state? It was one thing to ask for a meeting, but he had just been defeated, and it was indeed embarrassing. But what did little King Ziwei mean? In the palanquin, the demon emperor almost laughed out loud. He had thought that he would have to use some tricks to get heavenly monarch Ziwei to beg him. Who would have thought that heavenly monarch North Myrtle Star would come himself? Sun Yuan, that old monkey, was really vengeful. Come in. The demon emperor said indifferently. The door of the carriage opened slightly. Heavenly monarch Ziwei transformed into a streak of purple light and entered the divine palanquin. Within the palanquin there was a hidden space. It was a palace, and the demon emperor sat on the throne. The demon emperor said indifferently, "Heavenly King Ziwei, long time no see. Why are you in such a sorry state?" Heavenly King Ziwei fell silent for a moment before he said, "Demon monarch, since you're already aware of the situation, then why waste your breath? This prince doesn't believe that you didn't hear what was said just now. What does Heavenly King want to say? Just say it." The demon emperor said indifferently. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression froze. "I'm here to remind the demon monarch that Jiang Chongkong's strength has already surpassed the divine king realm. He also possesses an immortal emperor divine weapon, the Wu-slaying sword." The demon emperor replied calmly. Heavenly monarch Ziwei frowned. The Yao emperor believes that he has the ability to defeat Jiang Chongkong? Who told the heavenly king that I'm going to fight with Jiang Chongkong? The demon king chuckled and said, "I am a good golden crow who has contributed to the heavens. Why would I make things difficult for the heavenly Tao's chosen heavenly deity of justice? You are also the heavenly god of justice, a demon," Heavenly King Ziwei said coldly. "What I value more is my status as the demon monarch." The demon monarch smiled faintly. "Just like how heavenly monarch Ziwei wants to be Emperor Ziwei." Heavenly monarch Ziwei fell silent. It was no secret that he wanted to be Emperor Ziwei. Even the other heavenly monarchs wanted the position of Emperor Ziwei, such as immortal King Pejuan. Heavenly monarch Ziwei knew this very well. However, immortal King Pejuan was already dead, and he was still alive. He would kill everyone else who wanted the position of Emperor Ziwei one by one. The demon monarch said indifferently, "Heavenly monarch Ziwei, It just so happens that I know something about Immortal Emperor Ziwei. Immortal Emperor Ziwei? Where? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression shifted as he hurriedly asked. Why should I tell you? The demon monarch sneered. Where is Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's sincerity? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei calmed down. What sincerity do you need? It depends on what Heavenly Monarch can bring me, the demon monarch said indifferently. Heavenly Monarch is surrounded by wolves in the Heavenly Court. It's difficult for me to advance in the demon court. You want me to help you rise in the demon race. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression darkened slightly. I can't interfere in the demon court. The demon monarch said coldly, then there's no need for further discussion. Let that person comprehend Immortal Emperor Ziwei's position. What? Someone has already obtained Immortal Emperor Ziwei's position? Who is that person? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression changed drastically. No wonder his divine sword was taken away by the heavenly Tao. It had to return to the hands of the true Emperor Ziwei, not this Heavenly Monarch Ziwei. His title of Heavenly Monarch was conferred by the Heavenly Court, not the Heavenly Tao. I don't know. The demon monarch sneered. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression darkened, and he gritted his teeth. I promise to help you rise in the demon court. You don't need to rise, just help me recruit the demon race, the loyal demon race. The demon monarch didn't hide his ambition. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei suddenly sneered. Dongwang Changyue, loyal to the demon court, you really hid it well. I had no choice. The demon monarch sighed softly. Sooner or later, you will be like me, boarded a pirate ship, and don't even think about leaving. At that time, you will also shout that you had no choice. How do you plan to deal with Jiang Chongkong? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei asked. A deal. The demon monarch said, we each take what we need. Jiang Chongkong has what he needs, such as guarding the East Sea. I have my own needs, the demon race's treasures. The East Sea? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's eyes flashed with a cold light. Heavenly Monarch, don't try anything funny. I won't allow it, and neither will Peng Lai. The demon monarch's voice became colder. I am doing this deal for your own good. He dared to say this because he wasn't afraid of Heavenly Monarch Ziwei. The East Sea had Peng Lai's protection. In addition, the Dragon King had a celestial position to protect him, so Heavenly Monarch Ziwei really couldn't do anything to the East Sea. Will Jiang Chongkong agree? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei asked coldly. The demon monarch said with certainty, he will. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said, then I want to see how the demon monarch will make Jiang Chongkong agree. The demon monarch didn't say anything else. The sky-devouring python roared and charged toward the chaos divine flame. Roar. The sky-devouring python roared, and its demonic aura shook the surrounding divine stars. Jiang Chongkong looked toward the direction of the demonic aura with a hint of anticipation. His gaze pierced through the boundless space, through the divine stars, and focused on the sky-devouring python. At this moment, he was like the god Tharch back then, piercing through countless spaces and looking at him in the sacred land. Jiang Chongkong didn't know how strong he was now, and whether he could compare to an immortal emperor, but even if he was weak, he was not much weaker than an ordinary early-stage immortal emperor. The huge, sky-devouring python swam in the void, pulling the war chariot, crushing the immortal array patterns, and arrived at Jiang Chongkong. The demon master Kuan Yu was hidden in the void, in a magnificent chariot and an exquisite divine sedan. Divine King of Justice, Demon Monarch of the Demon Race, Dongwang Changyue, see you again. On the war chariot, Sun Yuan cupped his hands. Jiang Chongkong concealed his aura. Dongwang Changyue, you came personally this time. Do you want to fight or what? Inside the divine carriage, golden light flashed, chaotic aura flowed, and a figure stepped out. I came here to make a deal with the Divine King of Justice, to bring back the demon race's treasures. Oh! Jiang Chongkong smiled faintly. How do you want to make a deal? The demon monarch glanced at the dark void. This is a big deal. Why don't we talk somewhere else, lest a bunch of ants spy on us? I am refining an important treasure, so I can't leave. Why don't we go up and talk? After saying that, Jiang Chongkong stepped into the immortal array. Chapter 644. Chaotic divine power spread through the gap in the barrier and sealed the place. Jiang Chongkong pondered for a moment, then took out a strip of cloth and sealed the place. This time, even celestial emperors and celestial thearchs wouldn't be able to pry into it. There was no so-called discussion. He just had to wait patiently for the golden crow's body to be refined. The celestial title given by the monster Tharch was also transferred into the golden crow's body. The divine artifact fragment also followed. After entering the golden crow's body, the fragment seemed to be very active and released a suppressive force, but it didn't alarm the chaotic divine flame. The suppressive force made Jiang Chongkong's main body feel pressured, but his secondary body didn't feel anything. There was only a sense of affinity. Golden Crow Celestial Scripture. How could he forget this? Since it was related to the monster Tharch, he should have tried using the Golden Crow Celestial Scripture before. He didn't rush to use the Golden Crow Celestial Scripture. When he encountered this suppressive force again, he had the power to resist. Now, he only felt great pressure as if he was carrying thousands of stars on his back. The divine power in his body was suppressed by 20%. Even a fragment had such divine might. This complete fragment must be a saint-level weapon, a 9th-grade divine artifact. The suppressive force spread here, and the monsters below were also excited. They all sensed the monster race's supreme treasure fragment. The monster race's treasure. This is the monster race's treasure. Sun Wuxing and the other divine apes said excitedly. Kuan Yu and the other monster immortal kings were also excited. No, this treasure came out. Didn't it mean that the transaction was successful? Did the monster Tharch really get it? Then how could they reap the benefits? Kuan Yu and the other immortal kings were confused. Did we come for nothing? The monsters in the dark were confused. Sun Yuan and the other monsters were excited but also a little worried. If the transaction failed, what if the divine king of justice suddenly killed them? They couldn't see anything from the endless chaotic divine power, so they could only wait patiently. A day passed smoothly, and the golden crow divine body was finally forged. The divine power surged, and the secondary body entered it. Jiang Chongkong injected divine power again to increase the secondary body's strength. At this moment there was a sudden change. The divine artifact fragment released a unique aura and merged with the golden crow divine body. Boom! A terrifying divine might penetrated the chaotic divine energy and spread out, suppressing the void. Sun Yuan and the other immortal monarchs of Flower Fruit Mountain, Kuan Yu and the other immortal monarchs of the demon race, and even heavenly monarch Zi Wei inside the divine palanquin, all of them sensed this divine might. This was a pressure that completely surpassed the God-King realm. Even though there was no Xiantian aura, it made them feel as though they were facing an immortal emperor. A grayish-golden crow passed through the chaotic divine power and transformed into a demon emperor. The boundless divine might was emitted by the demon emperor. Congratulations, demon sovereign, your strength has improved greatly. Sun Yuan congratulated. I should thank the divine king of justice for allowing this emperor to receive the treasure and further improve my strength. The demon emperor's face was full of smiles. This matter was completely unexpected. When the golden crow divine body came to life, the aura released by the fragment had improved his golden crow divine body to another level. This golden crow divine body had already surpassed the acquired chaotic Tao body. Of course, it was only temporary. In the future, it would definitely not be able to keep up with the chaotic Taoist body. He also knew the specific origin of the fragment. Immortal Bell, Primal Chaos Bell, the primordial demon emperor, the companion treasure of the East Emperor Tai, had immeasurable power. Even though it was only a fragment, it was still very terrifying, comparable to any god emperor's treasure. Jiang Chongkong was now guessing the origin of the cloth. Could it be a fragment of the Pangu banner? It was very likely. There was a part of the Pangu banner that had the Pangu axe drawn on it. His strip of cloth had an axe drawn on it. There was no doubt about it. Only these supreme treasures had the possibility of forming the Pangu axe. Thank you, Divine King of Justice. Sun Yuan and the other 4 divine apes thanked the chaotic power. Jiang Chongkong flew down from the sky and said indifferently, "It's a fair trade, each taking what he needs. I wonder what treasure the Demon Emperor has retrieved?" There was a fluctuation in the void, and Kuan Yu appeared with the Demon Immortal King. The Demon Emperor frowned and said with a cold expression, "Do I still need to report to the Demon Master?" Kuan Yu's expression changed slightly. "Demon Emperor, I'm just worried that the Demon Emperor has been deceived. I know what the treasure looks like." Jiang Chongkong's gaze froze. The Demon Emperor suddenly smiled and put his hands behind his back. "Since the Demon Master wants to see it, I will naturally fulfill your wish. However, Demon Master, don't regret it. I'm doing this for the Demon Emperor's own good. Demon Emperor, please don't do anything rash. I just want to verify the treasure." Kuan Yu's expression was ugly. He was really afraid that the Demon Emperor would directly attack him. "I don't have good control over this treasure. I just got it, so I'm not very familiar with it." The Demon Emperor's gaze turned cold. "Are you sure you want to see it?" Kuan Yu's expression darkened. It was obvious that the Demon Emperor wanted to test him. Thinking of the Heavenly Tao Palace, Kuan Yu gritted his teeth and said resolutely, "For the Demon Court, I'm willing to take the risk. Everyone, be careful too." The Demon Emperor sneered. The celestial bell fragment in his body released its aura, and the shadow of an ancient divine bell condensed above the Demon Emperor's head. Ancient, gray air currents surrounded the shadow of the divine bell. Clang! The divine bell vibrated and a bell chime sounded. It wasn't particularly deafening, but it was extremely long and terrifying. The void around the Demon Emperor collapsed. Wherever the bell chime passed, the sound directly exploded in everyone's heads, and blood seeped out of their orifices. The nearby divine stars trembled and trembled as if they were about to collapse. Splat! Immortal King blood splattered, and Kuan Yu was sent flying. His immortal body was full of cracks. The other immortal kings also had their immortal bodies cracked, but they didn't fly out. A suppressive force locked them in place. As for Kuan Yu, just as he got up, the suppressive force came. His knees weakened and he knelt in the void. The Demon Emperor had his hands behind his back, and the melodious bell chime echoed in the endless void for a long time. The void within a 5,000-kilometer radius cracked, unable to withstand the terrifying power contained in the bell chime. Inside the divine palanquin, Heavenly King Ziwei was also in a miserable state. Could this be a fully activated 7th-grade immortal artifact? "Demon Master, did you see it clearly?" The Demon Emperor looked coldly at the kneeling Kuan Yu. If he didn't see it clearly, he didn't mind doing it again. He had already held back. Otherwise, Kuan Yu and the immortal kings present would definitely be dead. "Yes, I saw it clearly." Kuan Yu bled from his 7 orifices and his expression was twisted in pain. He felt that his soul was about to be torn apart by the power contained in the bell. This was simply a demonic bell. Looking at Sun Yuan and the other 3, Kuan Yu saw that they were completely unharmed. Kuan Yu spat out another mouthful of blood. "You said that you couldn't control it well? If he doesn't control it well, he'll only attack us and not harm the 4 immortal kings of Flower Fruit Mountain?" The phantom of the divine bell dissipated, and so did the sound of the bell. The Demon Emperor said indifferently, "Look carefully. In the future, you will know your place and understand who the Demon Emperor is." Kuan Yu gritted his teeth and swallowed a mouthful of blood. "Demon Sovereign, this is not the treasure of the demon race that I sensed. The Divine King of Justice did not take out the real treasure." "That's what you sensed, not what I sensed." the spirit demon sovereign said coldly. His eyes were cold. Are you saying that this isn't the real treasure? Yes, it is a treasure, just not as precious as what this subordinate sensed. That is a palace that contains the Tao scriptures of 10,000 races, the weaknesses of 10,000 races. Jiang Chongkong. Demons, let's switch to the demon master. Sun Yuan. I really wanted to laugh. What should I do? Demon Master, step down. Chapter 645. At a time like this, Kuan Yu still believed in the heavenly Tao Palace. It would be fine if he believed it, but as the Demon Master, he couldn't recognize this divine bell? He couldn't recognize it because he was a fake. Demon Emperor, I'm not someone you can dismiss at will. Kuan Yu's expression was cold. Make him resign? Why? Just because he was the Demon Emperor? This guy was just a tool to be used. This divine bell is the Demon Emperor's ultimate treasure. The divine bell phantom appeared above the Demon Emperor's head again. Although it was only a phantom, it contained infinite divine might. A will that could suppress the heavens and the earth, as well as an everlasting might, pressed down on all the divine stars. Immortal King Laws bowed before the divine bell, unable to activate them. Facing this ancient divine artifact, the immortal kings couldn't even think of fighting. Gray primal chaos chi swirled around the divine bell's phantom, forming a boundless primal chaos. The chaos bell phantom above the demon emperor's head suppressed the void. Countless years ago, heaven and earth were first judged, the celestial world first appeared, and the golden crow was born on the sun. The companion treasure was born with the demon emperor, and it was called the Chaos Bell. The demonic beast emperor's voice was like thunder, like the heavenly voice of the 9 heavens, echoing in the void. Chaos Bell. It's actually the Chaos Bell. No wonder it has such divine might. The primordial demon emperor's companion treasure is one of the strongest treasures in the celestial world. The demon emperor is indeed the demon emperor. Sun Yuan was extremely excited, his eyes flashing. The demon emperor, the entire demon race should submit, even the demon master. Sun Wuxing's eyes were fiery, and he didn't forget to look at Kuan Yu. The demon emperor's expression was indifferent, and he didn't say a word. He didn't expect that he would directly change from the heavenly demon of justice to the demon emperor. The demon emperor chosen by the primordial demon emperor, and now with the Chaos Bell. Who dares to say that the demon emperor is not worthy? Sun Yuan's gaze swept across the other immortal kings. The expressions of the other immortal kings changed. Forget about the primordial demon emperor, they had never come into contact with him, so how could they know if he was real or not? But now, the appearance of the Chaos Bell completely confirmed the demon emperor's identity. If he wasn't the real demon emperor, how could he use the Chaos Bell? Kuan Yu's expression was gloomy. Demon Sovereign, I did see a palace earlier. It is related to the demon race's treasure. Demon Master, I don't have the palace you speak of. Jiang Chongkong said lightly. Even if there is, why should this king give it to you? Demon Emperor, please bring back more treasures for the sake of the demon court, said Kuan Yu solemnly. Demon Master, it's time for you to leave. The spirit demon sovereign spoke indifferently as he looked down at the blazing star below. When I do things, it's not up to a piece of trash like you to tell me what to do. You, the demon master's face turned cold, but when he saw the demon king's cold gaze, he could only admit defeat. The current demon emperor was no longer the demon emperor that could be easily bullied and ignored. The primordial chaos bell just now tore the void apart. This was no weaker than an ordinary immortal emperor. Going against the demon emperor, wasn't that the same as courting death? Kuan Yu didn't want to die yet. He snorted coldly and turned to leave. The other immortal kings looked at each other and left with Kuan Yu. No matter how powerful a demon sovereign was, he was still a demon sovereign. Standing behind Kuan Yu was a demon sovereign. Furthermore, even if he were to pledge allegiance to the demon master and the demon monarch, he couldn't do it now. If he did, he would offend the demon master and the demon monarch. It was best to pledge allegiance secretly. Demon sovereign. The four old apes flew over and looked at the primordial chaos bell image eagerly. Can you let us take a closer look? The image dissipated and a fragment appeared. The demon sovereign sighed softly. Only one fragment. What a pity. Just one fragment is already very terrifying. I'm afraid only immortal emperors can resist the might of a demon sovereign. The four old apes flattered. The demon sovereign waved his hand and smiled. Let's get down to business. God King of Justice has given me a huge gift. A fragment of the primordial chaos bell is indeed a huge gift. Sun Yuanshi grinned. Not only that, there are a few more below. The demon sovereign stepped forward and entered the blazing star. Sun Yuanshi and the other three hurriedly followed. The heaven-devouring python brought the war chariot and divine palanquin into the blazing star. The heaven-devouring python didn't dare to say a word and was as quiet as a loach. Inside the blazing star, God King Chi Mu's expression was solemn. Heavenly Court lost, and it was a miserable defeat. Heavenly King Ziwei escaped, and the other immortal kings died. He didn't know if Jiang Chongkong suspected him and would attack him. Buzz. A peerless divine might descended. Golden crow robes, shoulder-length hair, and 3 eyes on his forehead. His face was cold, and his eyes were emotionless. You are, God King Chi Mu's expression changed drastically. He felt a cold, killing intent, one that was not concealed at all. Demon Sovereign, Dong Wang Changyue. The Demon Sovereign's heavenly eye opened, and a gray divine light mixed with sun divine fire enveloped God King Chi Mu. A shrill scream resounded. A peak God King couldn't resist the heavenly eye at all. His vitality dissipated, and death enveloped Chi Mu. As God King Chi Mu struggled, he revealed his true form. It was a fire divine tree. God King Chi Mu. The scream alarmed the other God Kings in the star, and they all flew over to investigate. When they saw clearly, none of them dared to approach. The 4 divine apes flew over, and Sun Wuxing's peak immortal king pressure made them despair. The heaven-devouring python roared and descended on the blazing star with the war chariot and divine palanquin. This sovereign is Dong Wang Changyue. The demon sovereign slowly turned around and looked at one of the god kings. Wang Shanhe, the God King of Justice recommended you to this sovereign. Are you willing to join this sovereign? Demon Sovereign, God King of Justice? Wang Shanhe was dumbfounded, and he couldn't help but look at Jiang Chongkong. Jiang Chongkong smiled. Rather than constantly moving and looking for another backer, why don't we find a bigger backer? This sovereign, no, this subordinate is willing. Wang Shanhe no longer hesitated, and he hurriedly bowed. What about the rest of you? The demon sovereign looked at the other god kings. We are willing to submit to the demon sovereign and follow him for all eternity, the god kings said excitedly. Many of them wanted to join the heavenly court and divine court, but they weren't accepted. Now that there was a chance, they were naturally willing. In their opinion, joining the demon sovereign was the same as joining the demon court. Sun Yuan, in the future, Wang Shanhe will be your deputy, and you will command the demon sovereign's army, the demon sovereign said. Sun Yuan took a step forward, and his voice was sonorous. Old ape, I will not let you down. These resources are a gift to the God King of Justice. God King of Justice, we shall meet again if fate allows. The demon sovereign waved his hand, and God King Crimson Wood's spatial equipment was given to Jiang Chongkong. Sun Yuan and the others didn't say anything. Although they were tempted by the resources, they were also grateful for the manpower Jiang Chongkong sent. Farewell. Jiang Chongkong cupped his hands, turned into light, and left. The demon sovereign already had a divine body, and he could accumulate the power of heaven in the future. When he accumulated to a certain level, his strength would increase greatly. God King Crimson Wood's corpse was still there, and the demon sovereign threw it to Sun Yuan. Immortal King's son, you have worked hard. This divine tree is not bad for refining treasures. Thank you, Demon Sovereign. Sun Yuan hurriedly received it with an excited expression. This was the true body of a peak god king. After he became a god king, the metal rod in the past wasn't suitable anymore. Now that he had God King Crimson Wood, the metal rod's quality could also be improved to the peak. Let's return. The demon sovereign turned into light and entered the divine carriage. Heavenly King Ziwei was still waiting here. Chapter 646. Inside the palanquin, Heavenly King Ziwei looked at the returning Yao Emperor and congratulated him. Congratulations, Yao Emperor, for finding the treasure. Yao Emperor smiled. Ziwei, I already said that we can trade. If you chose to trade, you would have gotten the item back. Heavenly King Ziwei shook his head. Jiang Chongkong couldn't trade what he wanted, or what the Celestial Dharch wanted. That was a heavenly Tao fragment. How could a piece of heaven be traded? I have many questions after talking with the Divine King of Justice. Yao Emperor sat down. Heavenly Quartz, heavenly cycle star formation is more powerful than the Yao Quartz. It can light up the stars in the formation? According to what I know, the heavenly cycle star formation originally belonged to the Yao Court. Heavenly King Ziwei pondered for a moment. Then, it became a formation to suppress the ancient heaven realm. The ancient heavenly court also used it, but it's not as powerful as the Yao Court. That's because the heavenly cycle star formation can only reach its limit with the complete bell of chaos and the divine stars of the heavenly realm. That's because the heavenly court can only use it to its limit with the complete bell of chaos and the divine stars of the heavenly realm. The heavenly court's heavenly cycle star formation can fight against sages. Heavenly court used it with the divine stars? Yao Emperor thought. The power of heaven and the heavenly cycle star formation should have been strengthened. Combined with the heavenly Tao, the power of heaven. Heavenly King Ziwei hesitated. The Celestial Dharch has already seen a lot of the power of heaven and can use a trace of the power of the divine stars, but it's still lacking. What level is the power of heaven at now? Jiang Chongkong asked. Yao Emperor, I've already said enough, Heavenly King Ziwei said solemnly. If he continued, he would have to hand over the heavenly court's secrets, but he hadn't gotten any benefits. Heavenly King Ziwei didn't tell him anything about the immortal title. Yao Emperor smiled. Don't worry, Heavenly King. The immortal title can't be rushed. Although I don't know exactly where it is, I can vaguely sense it. Really? A hint of joy flashed through Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's eyes. Please tell me, Demon Monarch. I only know where it is. The range is a bit big, Heavenly King Ziwei said. Can it be bigger than the immortal world? Heavenly King Ziwei asked coldly. The Demon Emperor chuckled. Heavenly King Ziwei was right. He didn't even have a rough idea of where he was. How long would it take for him to search the entire immortal realm? If I tell the Heavenly King, then the Heavenly King will have to tell me how much the heavenly Tao of the heavenly court has recovered. This king will definitely not hide anything. The Demon Emperor thought for a moment and said, Heavenly Court. What? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression changed drastically, and he exclaimed in disbelief, Immortal Ziwei is in the Heavenly Court. This Emperor is also very surprised. This is the result of this Emperor and the God King of Justice's combined efforts to sense the power of the heavenly Tao and use the Bell of Chaos fragments to deduce it. The Demon Emperor explained. The Chaos Bell was a divine artifact that had appeared since the beginning of the world. It was a supreme treasure of the primordial Demon Emperor. It should not be a problem for it to deduce the heavenly secrets, right? Heavenly King Ziwei's expression darkened. The Heavenly Court's ancient records state that the chaotic bell has the ability to deduce the profound secrets of the heavenly Tao. It looks like there's no mistake. He had never thought that Ziwei's immortal position was in the Heavenly Court. He, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei, was completely oblivious to this. Could it be that the heavenly Tao had not seen how diligently he had been governing the heavenly court all these years? Heavenly monarch, perhaps you can take another path. The immortal position already belongs to someone, and it is almost impossible to take it from them, the demon emperor advised. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression was silent, and his expression flickered with a myriad of emotions. Take another path? What other path do I have? Forever be a heavenly monarch? When the heavenly Tao truly awakens, it is unknown whether or not I will still be a heavenly monarch. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression was sinister. Moreover, how could a heavenly monarch compare to Emperor Ziwei? Emperor Ziwei was the master of the stars, a myriad manifestation grandmaster, second only to the master of the heavenly court. Even the master of the heavenly court had to give Emperor Ziwei some face. As for a heavenly monarch, no matter how he ordered, he was just a subordinate. The demon emperor snickered coldly in his heart. This heavenly monarch Ziwei's ambition was greater than he had expected. However, the greater the ambition, the easier it was to use. As long as he grasped hold of Ziwei's immortal position, he would be able to use this heavenly monarch Ziwei. However, when he thought of Zilan, he still felt a little unbearable. It was truly her misfortune to have such a father. Heavenly King, the other option is to join me and become a member of the demon race. At that time, I will also bestow a good position to the Heavenly King. The demon emperor said lightly. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression turned cold. Don't mention this again. What he wanted was the esteemed position of Emperor Ziwei, not a lowly demon. If he didn't have a request, the demon race, in his eyes, was just a bunch of disgusting reptiles. Since Heavenly King doesn't appreciate it, then let's not talk about it anymore. Let's talk about the heavenly court's heavenly Tao. The demon emperor said indifferently. He had already given her a chance. She looked down on the demon race. In the future, whether she wanted to be a little demon or not would depend on her mood. I'm not sure exactly how much the heavenly Tao of the heavenly courts has recovered. I only know that the current Sky Emperor has already discovered many secrets from the heavenly Tao. Heavenly monarch Ziwei said, we have already investigated how the heavenly Tao was split into several parts. The demon king sat up straight. How many portions? 9. As long as 6 of them are awakened, the heavenly realm will reform. The power of the heavenly Tao will completely envelop the heavenly realm. 9 portions? 6 awakenings? Heavenly realm reform? The demon emperor frowned. Heavenly monarch Ziwei continued, that's right. The heavenly Tao fragments are not the true heavenly Tao. You can think of them as the carriers of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was omnipresent. It was invisible and only existed through these carriers. Once the heavenly Tao was completely awakened, the heavenly Tao would completely recover and return. The heavenly realm would also return to its original state. 6 heavenly Tao fragments. The 3 major forces, including the demon court, had 4. In addition, Jiang Chongkong had the holy earth fragment and the fragment hidden in the map. That was 6 portions. The demon emperor didn't know about the remaining 3. Thinking up to this point, the demon emperor said, the 4 major forces each have a heavenly Tao fragment. Where are the remaining 2? The remaining 1 has already awakened. As for who it is, I don't know either. The Sky Emperor has already found the 6th fragment. It is hidden in the underworld. Heavenly monarch Ziwei said. The underworld? The demon emperor narrowed his eyes. The Sky Emperor had finally found the underworld? Did he go to the Sky River Dojo again, find that old board of the Magi Palace, and get this information? The demon emperor is in the Sky River Temple. He is holding a broken board. I believe he knows. Heavenly monarch Ziwei sneered. As expected, it was there. His identity as the demon emperor was special. If he was interested in the old board, the heavenly court would definitely investigate it carefully. Yushui and Fairy Zilan would not hide this. The underworld has disappeared for many years. Does the heavenly court have the confidence to find it? Asked the demon emperor. The sky emperor is confident. He should be able to sense the power of heaven, said heavenly monarch Ziwei. The demon emperor fell into deep thought. He didn't know the situation of the underworld, but it shouldn't be much better. If he came out now, he would probably be bullied. Take the underworld by himself? The Sky Emperor and the others would definitely not allow him to get involved. It would depend on whether the Demon Emperor of the Demon Court had the ambition and ability. Chapter 647. Jiang Chongkong left his secondary body and counted his resources. God King Akaji had occupied the Fire Star for many years and recruited many God Kings, but there weren't many resources. After joining the Heavenly Court, God King Akaji handed over most of his resources. Including the 100,000 heavenly powers used to deal with God King Akaji, he only had 53 million. His current essence, energy, and spirit were less than 7 million. He was still far from reaching the immortal Emperor realm. According to the memories in his mind, Jiang Chongkong left the Fire Star. He wanted to go to the immortal Emperor ruins to take a look. An immortal emperor should have left behind some resources. The heavenly realm was about to be reformed. Once the underworld reappeared, his main body would have nowhere to run. Jiang Chongkong crossed billions of miles in one step and reached the peak. He was many times faster than before. His mind was on the immortal emperor ruins, so he didn't interfere with the immortals and gods he encountered along the way. As for Ji Chang'an, he had already received the news of immortal King Pejuan's death. He had fulfilled the conditions of the divine court. There was a huge gap in the barrier of the divine planet. The chaotic currents kept expanding the gap. Streams of chaotic currents roared and charged into the starry sky like divine dragons, crashing into a divine planet. The divine planet quickly collapsed, turning into chaos and being assimilated by the chaos. Jiang Chongkong felt the chaotic power. His Tao body had reached its peak. The chaotic power could no longer harm him. He passed through the barrier and entered the chaos. Endless chaotic currents attacked him. It was as if he had returned to his homeland. Not only was there no danger, but it was also very comfortable. The chaos that gave birth to Pangu welcomed a lesser Pangu. He circulated the 6 revolutions mystic art. The surrounding chaotic currents entered his body and quickly turned into chaotic divine power. In the boundless chaos, information about the ruins appeared in Jiang Chongkong's mind. If he kept going forward, there would be a teleportation array that could directly teleport him to the immortal Emperor ruins. In the gray chaos, Jiang Chongkong walked alone. The incomplete connate divine runes in his body automatically appeared. There was no concept of time in the chaos. Fortunately, the heavenly Tao was still giving him essence, energy, and spirit, allowing him to know the time. 3 days passed. Jiang Chongkong didn't know how far he had gone. He was already far away from the ancient heaven realm. He guessed that he shouldn't be far from the teleportation array. Although there was information about the relic, the primal chaos continued to corrode and assimilate the ancient heaven realm after so many years. He could only pray that the immortal emperor's relic and the teleportation portal had not been assimilated by the chaos. The gray chaos suddenly shook, and a dark green figure rushed out from the chaos ahead. Its bloody mouth swallowed and spat out chaotic energy, and its dark green claws tore through the chaos. Sensing the danger, Jiang Chongkong's right palm tore apart the chaos with the innate divine patterns. Primal chaos surged and the airflow roiled, forming numerous gray gales. Jiang Chongkong didn't move, but the dark green figure flew back. Its dark green body was the size of a small mountain, and it stood upright. Its head was enormous, and its bloody mouth was filled with sharp fangs. His eyes were blood-red like 2 lanterns, filled with violence and killing intent. Chaos Beast. Many itinerant god kings had memories of Chaos Beasts. Primordial beasts were of all shapes and sizes. They were creatures born from the primordial chaos, and even the weakest of them was a celestial immortal. Itinerant god-kings didn't know about the strongest chaos beasts. They only knew that some immortal emperors had to avoid them. Some chaos beasts would find the barrier and barge into the ancient heaven realm. Some god-kings would kill chaos beasts if they had the ability, as their bodies were treasures, better than those of the demon race. Chaos beasts of the same level could be refined into immortal or divine artifacts of the same level. This dark green chaos beast was roughly equivalent to an ultimate god-king. They didn't have any sins, so the heavenly Tao couldn't control them. The dark green beast didn't run away, but instead charged forward. They did not know what fear was, unless it was a high-grade chaos beast. Only then could they feel fear. Jiang Chongkong lost interest. His palm force enveloped the beast, and chaos divine power engulfed it. Essence, spirit, plus 600. Jiang Chongkong was slightly stunned. This chaos beast contained much more essence, spirit, and spirit than ordinary immortals. Unfortunately, there was only one, and he didn't want it. When the chaos beast died, its corpse disintegrated. Jiang Chongkong saw divine patterns on its body. Those were chaos divine patterns, even more special than his innate divine soul. He would definitely be stronger after becoming an immortal emperor. Continuing his journey, Jiang Chongkong shuttled through the primordial chaos. Endless chaos surged, but he didn't encounter any more chaos beasts. Another 5 days passed, and Jiang Chongkong finally arrived at his destination. It was a 2-meter tall, 1.5-meter wide hut made of chaos divine stones. The door was tightly shut. It's actually made of chaos divine stones. Jiang Chongkong was a little surprised. He only knew that there was a teleportation array, but he didn't know it was made of chaos divine stones. Was the relic also made of chaos divine stones? If so, how did that immortal emperor do it? How many years did it take to accumulate so many chaos divine stones to build a hut? Could the relic also be made of chaos divine stones? Chaos power surged in his palm, gathering special immortal art divine patterns and landing on the door. The door of the stone hut opened slowly, and Jiang Chongkong hurriedly walked in. The stone hut closed. It was pitch black inside, and the chaos divine stones isolated the chaotic chi flow. Countless routes were carved on the chaos divine stones, and the power of space was hidden deep within. Jiang Chongkong infused his divine power into it and activated the teleportation array. The teleportation array activated and space changed. Jiang Chongkong disappeared from the hut. When he reappeared, he was already in another building. It was a 10,000-meter wide space, and it was a huge temple completely made of chaos divine stones. The ground was also paved with chaos divine stones, and it led directly to the temple. There were 5 paths paved with chaos divine stones, and Jiang Chongkong was standing on one. There were also living beings on the other 5 paths. 2 of them were his old acquaintances, Sun Li and Sun Qing. The 2 brothers had actually come here. The 2 of them didn't notice him, and they were rushing to the huge temple. The other living beings were also rushing to the temple. Jiang Chongkong took out the heavenly book and found that it was useless here. It was blank. Only the heavenly Tao was still giving him essence, chi, and spirit. The heavenly Tao couldn't control the chaos. Jiang Chongkong quickly walked to the front of the temple. The plaque above the temple and the 3 large words surprised him. Qingfeng Temple. At the end of the Qingfeng Temple, there were 3 smaller words. 5 Manor. 5 Manor, Qingfeng Temple? Was this the palace left behind by Zhen Yuanzi? If it was Zhen Yuanzi, he could really build this place. He had lived for an unknown period of time, and the chaos divine stones he accumulated would definitely be useless, but it would be no problem for him to build a house. However, Zhen Yuanzi was definitely not an immortal emperor. Even if he didn't reach primordial chaos in the end, he was a peak immortal supremacy mighty figure. How could this be the immortal emperor's ruins? The other living beings had already entered. No one waited for him, and they all wanted to search for treasures. Ah! A shrill scream came from the temple, and there was also the sound of chewing, as if something was swallowing something. Jiang Chongkong looked at the temple. The inside of the temple was as dark as ink, and even he couldn't see clearly. He could only see 3 meters away. There was another shrill scream. Jiang Chongkong saw all kinds of immortal light and samadhi divine fire blossoming in the darkness. However, the immortal light and samadhi divine fire only blossomed for a moment before completely extinguishing. Chapter 648. Jiang Chongkong was not afraid and stepped into the temple. In the darkness, chewing sounds could be heard continuously, making one's hair stand on end. Jiang Chongkong turned a deaf ear. He did not sense any dangerous aura. Instead, he saw a green light. The dark green light was extremely dazzling in the darkness. Before entering, he did not see this green light. The green light expanded rapidly and turned into an ancient divine tree in the blink of an eye. There were 30 childlike fruits hanging on the divine tree. Ginseng fruit. This was very similar to the legendary ginseng fruit. Its fragrance was overflowing and made people salivate. They could not help but want to pluck one and have a taste. But with those people in front of him, he did not act rashly. Although the ginseng fruit was magical, he did not care if it did not have essence, qi, and spirit. In addition, the living beings that came in earlier and the screams let him know that this place was dangerous. If he remembered correctly, there were records in the legends that only 30 ginseng fruits could be harvested every 10,000 years. Those immortals that came in would definitely pluck the ginseng fruits when they saw them. Once they plucked them, why would there be 30 here? And that chewing sound, who was eating who? Jiang Chongkong walked around the ginseng fruit. He did not encounter any danger and continued forward. In the darkness, he could not find the path and could only move forward. The temple seemed to have no end. With his speed, he did not reach the end after an hour. It was still dark around him. Jiang Chongkong's body came to a stop, and his chaos divine energy surged out. Since there was no path, he would fight his way out. The chaos divine power turned into a gray chaos divine dragon, roaring and charging in the darkness. Rumble! In the darkness, the chaos divine power did not know what it hit. Even if it was the chaos divine power, he could not see clearly. An extreme sense of danger came from behind him. He turned and punched. Boom! Chaos surged. In the darkness, a violent aura and chaos power surged in all directions. Jiang Chongkong didn't know what he had hit, but that thing should already be dead. But the surroundings were still dark. Buzz. There was a slight fluctuation. Jiang Chongkong's expression suddenly changed and he hurriedly retreated. A cold light tore through the darkness. It was where he had been standing, at his throat. If he had not sensed the danger, his throat would have been torn apart. This place is more dangerous than I expected. Jiang Chongkong's expression was gloomy. With a flip of his hand, a strip of cloth appeared in his hand. As he infused his chaos divine energy into the ancient divine banner, a destructive aura spread out from it. The dark void was cracking like a mirror. It was a divine weapon that had existed since ancient times, and it could tear through everything. In the darkness, the chewing sound stopped, as if it had sensed danger. Jiang Chongkong felt like he was being watched. A group of things were spying on him. A terrifying sense of danger engulfed him from all directions. Buzz. Boundless primal chaos manifested behind Jiang Chongkong, and an ancient, illusory figure appeared. The mysterious power of splitting open the heavens blossomed with divine light. Faint, yet eternal, inextinguishable light. Rumble. With Jiang Chongkong at the center, the power of heaven creation spread out. The image of the Pangu banner surged with boundless primal chaos energy to support sky splitting. The space that had long since cracked was now reduced to dust, completely disappearing under the might of split the heavens. Light reappeared, and the gray chaos divine energy floated in the temple. The temple was still the same, but on the ground were the remains of the immortals and gods that had entered earlier. The purple-gold-red gourd rolled to a corner of the temple, and a weak samadhi divine fire burned on the surface of the gourd. There was also a 9-story pagoda that shone with golden light. Jiang Chongkong felt vitality from the pagoda and the gourd. He said calmly, "Come out. It's safe now." The purple-gold-red gourd trembled, and Sun Li and Sun Qing carefully poked their heads out. After seeing him clearly, they exclaimed, "Divine King of Justice? Why are you here?" "I obtained a Chaos Divine Stone by chance, and it contains information about the Immortal Emperor's ruins." Jiang Chongkong explained and asked, "What about you guys? Why are you here?" The two of them exchanged a glance before flying out. Sun Qing carefully put away the bottle gourd and said, "We came here after obtaining the primal Chaos Godstones. With the protection of a divine item, we can stay in the primal chaos for a while." Jiang Chongkong frowned. "Who left behind information about the ruins to lure them here?" He looked at the pagoda. "You guys aren't coming out?" The pagoda trembled slightly and 4 figures flew out. The leader was a middle-aged immortal in golden armor, and he held a pagoda in his hand. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King of the Heavenly Court greets Heavenly God of Justice. "A Heavenly King of the Heavenly Court." Jiang Chongkong's eyes glowed. "Heavenly God of Justice, I have no enmity with you, and I sympathize with you and the Heavenly Court." Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's face twitched with sympathy. Jiang Chongkong chuckled. "Then why don't you betray the Heavenly Court and leave with me?" Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King had an awkward expression, and he changed the topic. "This place is dangerous. Thank you for your help, Heavenly God of Justice, but we don't know what we'll encounter next. We can only deal with unknown dangers by working together. I have no ill will toward Heavenly God of Justice." He knew about Heavenly King Ziwei's crushing defeat, and he was panicking when he suddenly encountered Jiang Chongkong. The other 3 immortals were also immortal kings, but they didn't say anything. However, none of them interjected. They were all nervous, afraid that Jiang Chongkong would attack them. Sun Li and Heavenly King didn't say anything. They knew what Jiang Chongkong and the Heavenly Court were going to do, and they couldn't interfere. "Never mind, I don't want to drag you into this," Jiang Chongkong said calmly. "Did you see anything when you came here?" "When we came in, we only saw a ginseng tree with 30 ginseng fruit. We just plucked a fruit, and the ginseng fruit came to life and wanted to eat us," Sun Li said. Sun Li explained, "Those immortals were eaten by the ginseng fruit." Jiang Chongkong frowned and looked at pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said, "Those ginseng fruits don't have the aura of immortals, only a violent killing intent." He glanced at the Divine Palace, which was empty except for the corpses of the immortals. Sun Qing asked, "Divine King of Justice, did you see anything?" "No." Jiang Chongkong shook his head. "The thing in the dark isn't weak, so it shouldn't be dead. The setup here is very strong. If they were dead, their corpses should be here. But there was nothing here except the corpses, not even a trace. Let's search the Divine Palace." "It shouldn't be an empty Divine Palace," pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said. Jiang Chongkong reminded, "Be careful." They spread out and started to search the Divine Palace. The Divine Palace was only 500 meters wide and 1,000 meters tall. Pieces of chaotic divine stones piled up to form the Divine Palace, and special patterns were carved on the entire Divine Palace. The top of the Divine Palace was also normal. Jiang Chongkong's chaotic divine power spread out and flowed along the special patterns. "Heavenly King, there's a problem here," an immortal king pointed at a pattern. "It's soft here, I think I can press it." Saying so, the immortal king pressed on the pattern, and a suction force came and swallowed the immortal king. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King hurried over, but the pattern was restored, and the immortal king was swallowed. Chapter 649. He pressed one hand on the place where the immortal king was pressing, but it was incomparably firm. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King hurriedly hit other places, but he couldn't find a soft spot. Jiang Chongkong reached out to touch the wall. It was just as sturdy. Sun Li and Zhang Xian were also searching, but they couldn't find anything. Could it be up there? Jiang Chongkong leaped up and knocked on all the walls in an instant. However, he did not gain anything. Every piece of Chaos Divine Stone was extremely hard. God King of Justice, over here. Sun Li suddenly pointed at the floor. It was a piece of Chaos Godstone. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King gathered with the two immortal kings. When Jiang Chongkong arrived, Sun Qing's expression was solemn. The purple golden red gourd was already opened. Why don't we try using the Samadhi Divine Fire first? Sure. Jiang Chongkong agreed to his suggestion. The Samadhi Divine Fire was extremely powerful. It could even burn a peak God King to death. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King had no objections. This thing had just swallowed an immortal king, and he didn't know if it could swallow a peak immortal king. The Samadhi Divine Fire spewed out and burned the Chaos Divine Stone floor. Heavenly King! A shrill scream rang out. It was the Celestial King from before. Sun Qing immediately stopped and looked at the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. He's still alive, let this king take a look. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King stood on the floor and stomped hard. Boom! The floor suddenly cracked open, and a suction force appeared, trying to swallow the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. The 9-level pagoda trembled as golden light radiated outwards. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's strength was at the pinnacle of the immortal king realm. His robe fluttered in the wind, and his celestial force surged. He fully displayed the might of a celestial king. Roar! With a roar, the suction force suddenly increased. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's expression changed, and his body began to fall rapidly. Jiang Chongkong quickly reached out and grabbed the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. He didn't try to fight back against the gravitational force, but instead followed the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King down below. God King of Justice. Sun Li and Zhang Xian followed closely behind. The remaining two immortal kings were stunned and hurriedly shouted, "Heavenly King!" The Chaos Stone was restored. The two immortal kings did not follow. They looked at each other and turned to leave. A black passageway led to an unknown region. The deeper one went, the stronger the suction force. And on the passage there were densely packed, sharp teeth. Unable to resist the suction, the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King hurriedly hid inside the pagoda, bringing Jiang Chongkong and the other two inside. Ding ding dang dang! The pagoda rolled in the passage and collided with the sharp teeth, causing sparks to fly. Those sharp teeth were extremely sturdy. Even a pinnacle 6th-grade pagoda would find it difficult to break them. Fortunately, the pagoda was sturdy enough to protect them. Inside the pagoda, the four of them gathered together. These sharp teeth are comparable to top-tier grade 6 immortal artifact. Even a pinnacle god king would be easily crushed by them. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's expression was solemn. Your subordinates don't seem to be here. Who let out that scream just now? Sun Li frowned and said, Or could it be that the thing in the dark has transferred your subordinates? There's no need to think too much about it. Once we get down there, we should know what's causing trouble, Jiang Chongkong said calmly. It seems like the two subordinates of the Heavenly King didn't come along. Sun Qing said with a hint of inexplicable meaning. The Heavenly King is quite concerned about his subordinates. Care? A little. They've been with me for thousands of years. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said calmly. As for why they didn't come down, it's because they don't want to cause trouble for me. Jiang Chongkong said, All right, let's prepare to face the unknown danger first. There will be plenty of opportunities to stir up trouble in the Heavenly Court in the future. Sun Qing smiled. Sun Li didn't say anything. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King had an awkward expression. Among the four of them, he was the only one from the Heavenly Court, and the three of them were filled with resentment towards the Heavenly Court. If he had a choice, he really didn't want to travel with the three of them. Dong dong dong. The pagoda kept rolling and finally calmed down. It landed in a gray space. "We're here," Jiang Changkong said calmly. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King waved his hand. The space in front of him fluctuated, and the situation outside the pagoda appeared in his sight. It was also a space made of chaotic divine stones, but there were many holes in it. These holes were filled with tyrannical eyes that were as red as blood. Ah! A shrill scream pierced through the pagoda's defenses and exploded in the four's ears. Blood-red eyes crawled out of the holes. They were blood-colored chaotic beasts. Chaotic beasts, great Tao of blood. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King had an ugly expression. These chaotic beasts feed on the blood of immortals. These holes should be their lair. Chaotic beasts born from the great Tao of blood? Jiang Changkong was curious. What's so special about them? They can control their opponent's blood and are extremely difficult to deal with. They can create blood rivers. As long as the blood rivers don't dry up, they won't die. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said coldly. Sun Qing's expression was ugly. If that's the case, won't we have to find the blood rivers? That's right. However, the blood rivers aren't far in this chaos. There must be extremely powerful chaotic beasts guarding the blood rivers, the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King explained. Jiang Changkong smiled. They're similar to the legendary patriarch Nether River. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said. Patriarch Nether River was the reincarnation of the blood demon god. He's the ancestor of these chaotic beasts. They're moving, Jiang Changkong said calmly. Rays of blood-red light shot toward the pagoda. The blood-colored chaotic beasts had activated the great Tao of blood. The great Tao of blood spread across the space. Wisps of strange god force entered the pagoda. The 9-story pagoda shook violently and emitted a golden glow. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King stepped out and unleashed the aura of an extreme immortal king. However, the aura was not as strong as before. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's face turned red. Swooshing sounds came from his body like a surging river. The 9-story pagoda shook unsteadily. Sun Li and Sun Qing were even worse. They used their immortal force to suppress their immortal blood and resist the great Tao of blood. The divine blood in Jiang Changkong's body rippled for a moment before returning to normal. Bang! A chaotic beast pounced at Jiang Changkong. Its sharp claws glowed with a thick blood-red light. Jiang Changkong slashed with his right palm. There was no divine force, only an azure light and an incomplete innate divine rune. Crack! Poochie! The palm shattered the blood-red claws and destroyed the blood-red light. Then, like a spear, it entered the chaotic beast's body. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King was stunned. Sun Li and Sun Qing were also stunned. Suppressing a chaotic beast with just his body? The azure light shook and the chaotic beast exploded. Divine force surged and the chaotic beast was destroyed. Essence, Chi, Spirit plus 600 A Divine King. Not bad. The chaotic beasts roared and pounced at them. The thick blood-red light and the strange great Tao of blood affected their blood flow. Divine King of Justice, Sun Li and Sun Qing hurriedly asked for help. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King also moved toward Jiang Changkong. Divine King of Justice, we need to work together now. Jiang Changkong glanced at the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. Divine power surged in his palm. Then don't move. I'll deal with them all. The chaotic divine power spread out. Jiang Changkong pressed in the void, and the boundless divine force imprisoned the chaotic beasts that pounced at him. Bang! Bang! The chaotic beasts exploded one after another and their essence, energy, and spirit increased rapidly. Chapter 650. The thick smell of blood floated in the dark space. His essence, breath, and spirit increased rapidly. Inside the hole, there seemed to be an endless number of chaos beasts. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King and the other two heaved a sigh of relief. With Jiang Changkong's divine power suppressing them, they weren't affected at all. Sun Li and Sun Qing hid behind Jiang Changkong and heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, they felt that their blood was about to rush out. They almost had to use the divine artifact fragment to suppress themselves. Jiang Changkong's chaotic divine power kept erasing the beasts, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. 600 for 1, 6,000 for 10. These were all immortal king-level beasts. Killing 1,000 of them would give him 600,000 essence, breath, and spirit. The densely packed holes were at least 10,000 meters tall, with ferocious beasts pouncing down one after another. Divine King of Justice, should we find a way to leave? Sun Qing asked with the purple gold-red gourd in his arms. Why should we leave? Jiang Changkong asked. Sun Qing said in a low voice, if this continues, even if Divine King of Justice is powerful, he will consume a lot of divine power. Without replenishment, we will die. It's fine. We can hold on for now, Jiang Changkong said. Leave? It wasn't easy to find a place to cultivate essence, breath, and spirit. If I don't clean it up, how can I leave? The chaotic divine power turned into thousands of sword rays and crushed the chaos beasts. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's expression was solemn. If we don't find Blood River, we will really die. As long as Blood River didn't dry up, the chaos beasts wouldn't die. No matter how strong Jiang Changkong was, he couldn't stop these chaos beasts from reviving. Once their divine power was used up, the three heavenly kings wouldn't be able to hold on. Jiang Changkong thought for a while and said, that's right. Let's find Blood River first. Then, the chaotic divine power swept away a bunch of beasts and revealed a passage. The three of them stepped into a hole. There was no other way except for the hole. He could only search through the holes one by one. There were countless chaos beasts outside, and there were also many in the hole. He could only clear these beasts first. The passage was long and winding. As Jiang Changkong walked deeper, the blood demons chased after him. Inside the passageway, there were still many blood demons that pounced on them in a frenzy. Jiang Changkong used his primal chaos divine power to protect his back. The moment the blood demons came into contact with the primal chaos divine power, they were crushed. The blood demons in front were also turned into ashes by the primal chaos divine power. An hour later, Jiang Changkong arrived at the end of the tunnel. There was nothing there. Jiang Changkong could only lead them out again. In an hour's time, he had already accumulated more than 100,000 points of essence, qi, and spirit. The chaotic beasts outside were still endless. However, many of them were high immortals. Not every chaotic beast had the cultivation of a celestial king. Fortunately, immortal lords could also provide dozens of points, at least 20 points. The three of them followed behind Jiang Changkong, once again witnessing his strength. This wasn't the battle prowess of a celestial king at all. Even if it exceeded the limit, it wouldn't be enough. Pagoda-bearing heavenly monarch couldn't help but ask, Justice God King, are you an immortal emperor? It's still a long way off, Jiang Changkong said. The three of them. Don't joke, although we know how terrifying an immortal emperor is, you are still a long way off, that's too much. Which part of your strength is that of an immortal king? Jiang Changkong punched another tunnel, but still couldn't find the exit or the blood river. Pagoda-bearing heavenly monarch decided that if the heavenly emperor asked him to capture Jiang Changkong in the future, he would definitely not do it. Without the strength of an immortal emperor, anyone who touched Jiang Changkong would die. Justice God King, I still have some recovery pills here. Sun Qing took out a few bottles of immortal pills and handed them over. You guys keep them, I don't need them for now. Jiang Changkong waved his hand. He didn't expend much energy now, and could recover by absorbing the chaos power. He didn't need these immortal pills at all. Furthermore, with his current divine power, he would need to eat a large handful of these pills at once. Seeing that he didn't want them, Sun Qing could only keep them. He would give them to him when he was exhausted. After finding more than 10 tunnels, Jiang Changkong didn't know how many chaotic beasts he had killed. His mental energy had increased by more than 1,000,000. After entering another tunnel, Jiang Chongkong came to the end. It was still empty. Just as he was about to leave, a special pattern appeared on the Chaos Divine Stone. It was the same pattern as the one on the walls of the temple. This should be the exit. The golden pagoda in pagoda-bearing heavenly monarch's hand released a divine light. Golden immortal runes appeared and bombarded the pattern. The golden runes dissipated, but the pattern remained. Let's search carefully. Jiang Chongkong used his divine power to destroy the pursuing beasts while knocking on the wall. The three of them quickly searched carefully with their hand. It didn't take him long to find a relatively soft piece of Chaos Divine Stone. It's here, pagoda-bearing heavenly monarch said. Jiang Chongkong glanced at the beast. He didn't feel any reluctance. After sending them up, he could come back down and continue killing the beasts. Pagoda-bearing heavenly monarch pressed down, and the suction force came again. The four of them were sucked into the pagoda. Dong. This time, the distance was very short. It only took a moment for them to arrive. It was still a gray space, but there was a tinge of green aura. The tunnel was closed. The beasts didn't chase after them. In the gray space, there was a chaos stone path. The green aura came from the path. At the end of the stone path, they could only vaguely see a temple. The four of them came out of the pagoda, looked at each other, and walked toward the temple. When they arrived in front of the temple, they looked at the name and their eyes froze. 5 Villages Temple. Could this be the real relic? Sun Li guessed. That's possible, but it's more likely that this place is also full of danger. After saying that, Jiang Chongkong pushed open the door of the temple. There was only a palace inside. Clear Wind Hall. Sun Qing was a little shocked. Have we returned to the original temple? Let's go in and see. Jiang Chongkong pushed open the door of Clear Wind Hall. It was no longer dark inside. Not far from the door was an old Taoist statue. There was also a futon next to the statue, which was well preserved. Sun Li sized up the statue and guessed, Great Deity Zhen Yuan? Should be. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King observed for a moment. It's similar to the statue of Great Deity Zhen Yuan that the Zhen Yuan celestial sect worship. There was a statue, a table, a chair, an incense burner, and a platform. It was a statue of a young Taoist child. Sun Li was a little surprised. Who is this? Is he worshipped in this temple? This should be the master of the temple, Qingfeng. Jiang Chongkong looked around. Apart from these, there was nothing else in the palace. Qingfeng? Is he a Taoist child of Patriarch Zhen Yuan? Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King recalled, and a flash of surprise flashed across his face. Taoist child Qingfeng has been cultivating with great deity Zhen Yuan. He must be very strong. The most important thing is whether there are treasures or not. Sun Qing's eyes flickered. They were not here to listen to stories. Jiang Chongkong nodded. No matter who it was, if there was nothing good left, they would have come for nothing. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King pondered. If it really is that Taoist child Qingfeng, there must be treasures left behind. Chapter 651. Qingfeng and Mingyu were favored by Zhen Yuanzi. How could they not have a few treasures? Since it was his place, there should be some treasures left behind. Seeing Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's confident tone, Jiang Chongkong said, Then be careful and look around. The four split up. Sun Li went to check the statue. Sun Li and his brother went to check the tables and chairs. Jiang Chongkong checked the statue and used his god power to check it. The statue was made of chaotic divine stones, and there was nothing wrong with it. He tried to move it, but it couldn't be moved. There's something wrong with this statue, Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said. The three came to Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King and saw him kneeling on a praying mat. I didn't expect you to respect your seniors. Sun Li smiled. If I don't kneel, I won't find the secret. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King stood up and moved aside. Kneel and take a look. The two looked at each other and Sun Qing knelt down. Shock flashed in his eyes. It's true. What did you see? Jiang Chongkong frowned. Tell me. Ginseng fruit tree. Sun Qing said excitedly. And a celestial pond. Ginseng fruit tree? Don't forget about the ginseng fruit tree in Qingfeng Hall. Jiang Chongkong sneered. After suffering once, it was time to remember. Sun Qing's expression became serious. Then I will open it. Divine King of Justice, protect me. Jiang Chongkong's god power enveloped Sun Qing. Sun Qing touched the statue and poured his god power into it. Crack! The statue slowly rotated and a green light bloomed. Everything changed and they came to a green space. The green space wasn't big. It was less than 500 meters in radius and everywhere was green. A ginseng fruit tree was rooted in the ground. Endless chaotic energy flowed into the ginseng fruit tree from the green ground. There were 30 fruits hanging on the tree and a tempting fragrance wafted out. There was a green pond that emitted a dense aura. Taking a deep breath made him feel energetic and his cultivation increased. Dense life energy was emitted from the green pond. But the four were still cautious. They had been tricked before and Jiang Chongkong had warned them just now. Try using God power. Sun Qing circulated his immortal force and condensed it into a hand, grabbing a ginseng fruit and easily plucking it. There was nothing unusual and the ginseng fruit was normal. Jiang Chongkong received the ginseng fruit and used his divine force to cut the ginseng fruit into dozens of pieces. Inside were dark green fruits with a rich aroma. It should be true. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King took a look and said. Jiang Chongkong handed the ginseng fruit to Sun Qing and came to the side of the ginseng tree. There was a stone stele hidden behind the tree. Ancient era's immortal characters were inscribed on it. Jiang Chongkong said, "It really is Taoist Qingfeng. He left with great deity Zhenyuan back then." The three of them gathered around. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King looked at the information on it. This ginseng fruit tree was transplanted from a branch of the mother tree. Although its miraculous effects are inferior to the mother tree's ginseng fruit, a single fruit can still allow one to become an immortal. Those who cultivate the laws of wood will be able to comprehend the laws of wood and ascend to the heavenly immortal realm with a single step. One step to become an immortal, one step to become a celestial immortal. If he had just arrived in the immortal world, Jiang Chongkong would have been excited. But now it was useless even if he ate the ginseng fruit tree. That pool contains the essence of the ginseng fruit. Every time the ginseng fruit ripens, it will be turned into liquid by the formation and stored in the pool. After so many years, the pool must have been of great help to us. Sun Qing's eyes flashed with excitement. He was the weakest among the four of them, only a late-stage immortal king. Sun Li was also a peak immortal king, close to the limit. Has the back been erased by someone? Jiang Chongkong squatted down and looked at the back of the stone stele. There was an unfinished sentence. Many immortals and gods, the creation ends. And what? Success? Failure? And? The three of them were confused. The content of the stone stele ended here. Why did Taoist Qingfeng suddenly leave behind the creation information? Could it be that there was also a research base here? But there were no experimental subjects here. Sun Qing said anxiously, "Don't worry about this. Let's quickly collect the ginseng fruit and the essence." The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King didn't want to care about the creation. He just wanted to collect these things and leave. This ginseng fruit tree belongs to me. I have a relationship with the Zhen Yuan celestial sect, Jiang Chongkong said. He could give the ginseng fruit tree to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect and ask for their help when necessary. They might even be able to help him when he fought his way to the heavenly court. The three of them didn't have any objections. They were satisfied to be able to collect the essence of the ginseng fruit. Jiang Chongkong wrapped his divine power around the ginseng fruit tree and forcefully pulled it up. Rumble! The entire green space shook and a special ripple spread out. Jiang Chongkong's sharp senses detected a trace of blood qi. It was very weak, but he believed that his senses weren't wrong. He exerted more force and the space shook again. The ginseng fruit tree slowly left the ground. The 10 ginseng fruits suddenly shook and wanted to leave the ginseng fruit tree. A thick blood-colored light shone out. Jiang Changkong poured divine power into his eyes and forcefully looked into the ginseng fruits. Each of the 10 ginseng fruits had blood-colored beasts hidden within them. Chaos beasts. He looked at the 3 of them. The 3 of them were already close to the pool of ginseng fruit essence. It wasn't a ginseng fruit essence but a pool of blood. Blood-colored eyes stared at them from the pool of blood. Get back! Jiang Changkong let go of the ginseng fruit tree and quickly retreated with divine power. What's wrong? The 3 of them looked at him in puzzlement. Jiang Changkong didn't say anything. He slashed with divine power and the 10 ginseng fruits fell and exploded in the air. Rays of blood-colored light flew out and turned into chaos beasts. How can this be? Sun Qing's expression changed drastically. He took out the fragments of the ginseng fruit. There were no changes. The ginseng fruit tree is real, but there are 10 fake fruits. Jiang Changkong said coldly. He couldn't understand why the chaos beasts in the ginseng fruits didn't come out to attack them. Roar! The chaos beasts roared and pounced at the 4 of them. The great Tao of blood tried to use their blood to suppress their strength. Chaos divine power engulfed the chaos beasts and bombarded the blood pool. Roar! A violent roar resounded and a terrifying aura was awakening. This power. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king's expression changed drastically. Sun Li and Sun Qing's expressions also darkened. Although they had Jiang Changkong's protection, they still felt a terrifying pressure. This was a power that completely surpassed the limit of an immortal king. Dense primal chaos divine patterns manifested in the void. That unique pressure that was comparable to Xiantian divine patterns made Jiang Changkong's expression turn solemn. The power of an exalted god was like the divine emperor's spear. And this power was much stronger than Kuan Yu's when he wielded the divine emperor's spear. The law of blood appeared in the air and sealed the entire green space like chains. The ginseng fruit tree looked a little sinister under the blood-colored light. The chaos beasts in the pool roared and rushed out. The power was getting stronger and stronger. As the chaos beasts turned into ashes, Jiang Changkong's eyes turned cold. This should be the blood river. It's much smaller than I thought. Chapter 652. The blood river was much smaller than what Jiang Changkong had imagined. He thought it was a real blood river, but it was only a small pond. If the information on the stele was really left behind by Taoist Qingfeng, then the blood river cannot be measured by this pond. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king said solemnly. The ginseng fruit tree was real, and the ginseng fruit essence was real too. There was only one possibility. The chaos beasts had taken over the pond and replaced the essence with the blood river. The pressure continued to increase, and the 3 of them looked grim. However, what shocked them was that although they could feel the pressure, they did not feel any terrifying pressure. It was as if the pressure was not directed at them at all. They could not help but look at Jiang Changkong. Their expressions were solemn, but they were more indifferent. Could this person really be an immortal emperor? Boom! As the chaos beasts continued to die, blood surged up from the blood pond, and a blood-colored figure emerged from it. The pressure stopped increasing and reached its peak. The mysterious blood divine runes emitted an incomplete aura of an exalted god. This thing is about to evolve into an immortal emperor. Sun Li's eyes widened in shock. Yes, it's about to succeed. Its divine body has evolved, and its power of laws has evolved by more than half. If it's given enough time, it will definitely become an immortal emperor in less than 300 years. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king was also shocked. This was what it meant to be one step away from becoming an immortal emperor. In other words, it had already comprehended the immortal emperor realm, but it had yet to break through. Jiang Changkong was also surprised, but the solemn look on his face disappeared. These chaos beasts know how to cultivate? He thought its aura would continue to increase, But it was only at this stage. He did not have to worry about it at all. Although the chaos beasts are violent and have no intelligence, they are the children of chaos. They are considered incomplete chaos fiend gods. They are completely capable of cultivating and absorbing the chaotic energy. It's just that they are muddle-headed and their progress isn't particularly fast. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king explained. If it was a real chaos fiend god that had gained intelligence, it would have become an immortal emperor by now. Roar. The roar rang out, causing all the primordial chaos beasts to halt. That primordial chaos beast that had comprehended the immortal emperor realm had boundless laws of blood around it, resembling a true law. At the immortal emperor realm, one would comprehend the essence of the laws. This chaos beast was born from the chaos. The power it cultivated could be said to be the chaos blood Tao. Just like the chaotic ancestral dragon body and the chaotic golden crow body. It was just that the nurturing process was not complete. It was far from a true chaotic blood devil. Boom. As the law of blood descended, the barrier of the primal chaos divine power star shook violently. This primordial chaos beast, which was almost at the immortal emperor level, was unable to break his defense with a single strike. The three of them were stunned. Are you really an immortal emperor? Not bad. I almost broke the primal chaos divine energy shield. Jiang Chongkong commented. A streak of primal chaos divine power tore through the bloody light and engulfed the primal chaos ferocious beast. The primal chaos beast shook the power of the nomological laws, but it could not withstand the divine might and was directly turned into ashes. The three of them, not bad? Almost broke it? Why did the heavenly court send an immortal king to kill you? Why not send an immortal emperor? The pagoda-bearing heavenly king was confused. Should he go back and tell the heavenly Dharch that Jiang Chongkong was already an immortal emperor? In the future, if they wanted to capture Jiang Chongkong, they must not send him. Send an immortal emperor? Roar. The blood pool shook and roared. Terrifying divine might rose again. As long as the blood river was not dry, they would not die. The primal chaos beast appeared again. It seemed to have forgotten that it was killed in one move. Boom. The primal chaos beast was killed again. The chaotic divine power annihilated even more primal chaos beasts. Roar. The primal chaos beasts rushed out again. They fully demonstrated that as long as the blood river was not dry, they would not die. However, after being killed twice in a row, the primal chaos beast's strength had decreased significantly. Its divine might was not as great as before. The primal chaos beasts rushed over again and again, only to be killed in one move. They rushed over again and were killed in one move again. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king and the others' mouths twitched. What a bunch of stubborn primal chaos beasts. They were really not afraid of death. But, divine king of justice, are you too bored? Can't you just destroy the blood river? Or maybe you don't know. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king reminded. Heavenly God of justice, you can destroy the blood pool. That way, they won't be able to come back to life. Jiang Chongkong glanced at him and said, I want to see if the primal chaos beasts will feel despair. You have a good idea. We won't say anything then. Continue killing. When Jiang Chongkong saw that his essence, qi, and spirit had increased by a large margin, he felt very comfortable in his heart. He might not have gained anything else this time, but killing a group of primal chaos beasts was not bad. Roar. Roar sounded again. More primal chaos beasts rushed out of the blood pool. These primal chaos beasts were very powerful. They were all at their peak. Could they be the primal chaos beasts we encountered in the passageways? Sun Qing asked. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king pondered. Very likely. Although the primal chaos beasts have no intelligence, their instincts will make them protect the blood river. It's even better. Jiang Chongkong was not surprised. Instead, he was overjoyed. He attacked even harder. Of course, he avoided the blood pool. He only killed the primal chaos beasts and did not damage the blood pool. The strength of the primal chaos beasts decreased quickly. Fortunately, there were many of them. Time passed. At first, the three were shocked. But gradually they became numb. They sat at the side and chatted with each other. Sun Qing and Sun Qing wanted the heavenly court to be more lenient with them. In the future, everyone would ignore each other and not cause trouble for them. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king expressed that they could be more lenient with them, but only with his subordinates. He could not care about the other heavenly kings and immortals. You can also join the heavenly court. After a while, you will have nowhere to hide. The heavenly realm is being reorganized, the pagoda-bearing heavenly king said. Sun Qing sighed. Is the heavenly Tao not willing to let itinerant cultivators live? It's not that the heavenly Tao is not willing. It's the heavenly court and the other factions. Jiang Chongkong continued, when the heavenly realm is reorganized, the four factions will definitely fight it out. If they want to unify the heavenly realm, they will have to get rid of the unstable element. Shouldn't we join to increase our strength? Sun Qing was confused. The reorganizing of the heavenly realm means the return of the heavenly Tao. At that time, even if it has not completely returned, the power of heaven will be able to create new experts. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king said meaningfully, the new chaotic era, the Dark Age, is coming. Dark Age? As the heavenly court's heavenly king, shouldn't it be a beautiful era? Jiang Chongkong sneered. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king shook his head. It is the Dark Age. At that time, even the fall of immortal emperors will not be surprising. I have no confidence in surviving. Only those who can live through that period and stand on the right side will be able to usher in a beautiful era. I couldn't tell that you are such an understanding person, Jiang Chongkong said. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king did not say something stupid like heavenly court will win. Instead, he was very calm. He knew that heavenly court might not win. Even if they won, he might not be able to survive. Sun Qing and Sun Li looked at each other. Then pagoda-bearing heavenly king or the divine king of justice, which faction do you think is better? Your question is a waste. Of course I think heavenly court will win. Pagoda-bearing heavenly king laughed. The divine king of justice clearly thinks heavenly court will win. No, I don't either. Chapter 653. None of you are optimistic? The three of them were taken aback. Only 4 factions in the entire immortal realm had the right to rule the world. Even major factions like the Penglai sect and the suppressing Yuan immortal sect did not have that ability. If Jiang Chongkong was pessimistic, who else would be optimistic? Jiang Chongkong smiled faintly as the three of them looked at him in confusion and curiosity. No one can be sure until the very last moment. Didn't the heavenly will not make a decision directly? The three of them mused. While his words made sense, they still felt that it was impossible. The heavenly will did not choose a heavenly emperor directly because it wanted them to fight for it. The heavenly will would not choose a weakling to rule the immortal realm. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king smiled, and did not take his words seriously. Sun Li and Xuanqing were still scowling. The path of the itinerant immortals was about to come to an end. Jiang Chongkong would never mention the demon emperor in front of the pagoda-bearing heavenly king, or he would be asking for trouble. Sun Li and Xuanqing were not at their wits' end either. They still had divine items to protect their lives, which gave them some confidence. 3 days passed. The ferals of chaos were still endless, but their strength had become pitifully weak. The immortal Lord Ferals were all gone, and the strongest feral that was about to become an immortal emperor had fallen to immortal level. The blood chi in the river of blood had weakened by more than half, and the blood in the pool had become clear. Although the river of blood had not dried up and they could still be revived, each revival would weaken their strength and the power of the river of blood. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king and the others felt a chill in their hearts, having a new understanding of the heavenly god of justice. That guy was a monster. He could have easily taken care of everything, but he allowed the Pharaohs of Chaos to revive and kill them again and again. Sun Li and Xuanqing were wondering if the heavenly god of justice was born with a murderous heart. Jiang Chongkong would not explain anything. The Pharaohs were useless now. Chaos divine energy seeped into the river of blood and destroyed the last of the blood qi, leaving nothing behind. This time, he had gained a lot of benefits from the Chaos Beast. 1 million essence, energy, and spirit point. He was already halfway there. He was reluctant to part with this group of ferocious beasts. There were enough of them, and they could be resurrected continuously. This was simply custom-made for himself. If the Nether River Patriarch was still around, he could kill him and resurrect infinitely. That would be great too. The blood pool was obliterated, and the water within it also dissipated. A special pattern was engraved in the pool. Inside this pool should be the spatial immortal formation to leave, Sun Qing said. Jiang Chongkong looked at the ginseng tree and saw that there were 19 fruits left. You guys can split the fruits. The tree belongs to me. This was something that they had discussed before, so the three of them had no objections. Even if Jiang Chongkong wanted everything and gave them a portion of everything, they would have nothing to say. Moreover, Jiang Chongkong and the Heavenly Court were enemies. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King didn't say a word. He took 6, and the remaining 13 went to the two of them. Jiang Chongkong shook the ginseng fruit tree, and the green space shook again. When he pulled out the ginseng fruit tree, the green space began to dissipate. He didn't put it into his spatial equipment, but kept it in his body and nourished it with chaos divine power. The ginseng fruit tree needed divine power, chaos qi, or immortal qi to maintain its vitality. Of course, even if it didn't, the fruit tree's energy could last for tens of thousands of years. After entering the pool, he injected divine power into it and activated the teleportation immortal formation. The space changed, and the chaos retreated rapidly around the four. When they reappeared, they were inside a chaos stone hut. There was also a wisp of samadhi divine fire here, giving off a faint light. This is where we came in, Sun Qing said. Sun Li said, this place isn't far from the ancient heaven realm. Let's go back together. The purple gold red gourd might be damaged, but it was enough to last this short journey. Driving the purple gold red gourd back, Jiang Chongkong suddenly remembered something. The two subordinates of the Heavenly King seemed to still be in the ruin. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's expression changed. Maybe they'll stay there forever. Sun Li and Sun Li had solemn expressions. If it wasn't for Jiang Chongkong, they would all have died there. Although it was a ruin, it was also the nest of Chaos Beast. Death is not to be regretted. You know the danger, but you don't dare to follow. This is completely ignoring the Heavenly King, Sun Qing said coldly. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King suddenly laughed. Now is the time to sow discord? Sun Qing had said before that Jiang Chongkong had stopped him. Now that he was out, he could sow discord without worry? You can say so. Jiang Chongkong lay on the gourd. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King, you can think more about it. Leave the method of contact. If I want to deal with you, I'll inform you in advance. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King was not angry. He knew the Heavenly Court better. No matter how these people tried to sow discord, he had his own thoughts. Sun Li and Sun Li took out jade tokens and left the method of contact. Jiang Chongkong also stayed, hoping that the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King would really do what he said. A few days later, the purple gold red gourd rushed out of the chaos and reached the ancient heaven realm's starry sky. The figures were moving faster, gathering towards the ancient heaven realm's land. The reconstruction speed has increased. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly King stood in the void with a solemn expression. I hope everyone becomes an immortal emperor before the great era arrives. After saying that, he left without looking back. Sun Li and Sun Li looked at Jiang Chongkong. Divine King of Justice, why don't you come with us? Forget it, I'll go look for chaotic divine stones alone. Jiang Chongkong shook his head. With this harvest, he was looking forward to the rest of the chaotic divine stones. Even if it could not be compared to this harvest, it would not be too little. The four forces' focus should be on the underworld now. With Heavenly King Ziwei's failure, no one could take him down unless an immortal emperor took action. Under such circumstances, they should not cause trouble for him for the time being. Jiang Chongkong did not understand why these forces did not send immortal emperors to kill him. Of course, it was better that they did not. He did not want to encounter an immortal emperor. On the other side, the Yao Emperor sat in the divine palace. Today, he had to welcome an important guest. An immortal emperor. The void rippled. There was no intense divine might, nor was there any shocking aura or divine light. There was only a slight ripple in the void. Chain mail, purple gold crown, sea steadying godly iron. Although there was no aura leaking out, standing there gave people the feeling of looking up to a tall mountain. Sun Wuxuan greets the Yao Emperor. He bowed slightly and cupped his fist. His expression was calm. There was no respect or disdain. The Yao Emperor stood up, walked down the stairs, and helped Sun Wuxuan up. An immortal emperor has come, but I do not have anything good to welcome you. I am ashamed of Huagua Mountain. Since the Yao Emperor believes in Huagua Mountain, we will not let you down. Sun Wuxuan held the sea steadying godly iron. This treasure is the Yao Emperor's greatest gift. Huagua Mountain gave the sea steadying godly iron to Sun Wuxuan. This Yao Emperor was a peak celestial emperor. He was the divine ape with the greatest hope of becoming an celestial sovereign. He was also the most qualified to have the sea steadying godly iron. Sun Yuan, prepare a banquet to welcome immortal Emperor Sun Wuxuan. The Yao Emperor ordered, and a peak celestial emperor ran over to support him. Huagua Mountain had nothing to say about his support. Chapter 654. Out of respect for heaven's equal, the people of Huagua Mountain had changed Wu. Of course, not just any monkey could use it. Sun Yuan couldn't use it yet. He had to become a peak celestial king or even an extreme celestial king to be qualified. Once he became an immortal emperor, he would be an important member of Huagua Mountain. In this trip to the ancient heaven realm, the demon master had suffered a crushing defeat and the demon emperor had obtained the chaos bell fragment. He had already secured his position as the demon emperor. No one could shake him. Not even the demon emperor. Because he was the demon emperor recognized by the chaos bell, which was equivalent to the recognition of the primeval demon emperor. To remove his position, the primeval demon emperor or the primeval demon emperor would have to crawl out. Kuan Yu couldn't cut off the connection and didn't dare to. Sun Wuxing had a way to contact Huagua Mountain directly, so he contacted the tribe. The real demon emperor, recognized by the chaos bell, had helped Huagua Mountain take out the ocean-pacifying divine needle. After receiving this news, Sun Wuxuan came immediately to protect the demon emperor, Donghuang Changyue. When the demon emperor fully matured, Huagua Mountain would have another powerful backer. Jiang Chongkong was extremely fond of this immortal emperor who had just arrived. Although Huagua Mountain wasn't particularly fond of the demon race, they would still stand on the demon race's side when it was necessary. The banquet had been prepared. There were some spirit fruits and spirit herbs, but no meat. The demon emperor had already taken out the best things, all of which were celestial king grade. Sun Wuxuan wasn't a picky monkey. At his level, he would only taste the taste of things, unless it was a grade 8 spirit herb. Wang Shanhe, Sun Yuan, Sun Wuxing, and the other celestial kings accompanied him and frequently toasted. The banquet continued. A flame flashed and a handsome young man with a flame mark between his eyebrows appeared at the banquet. The young man cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Feng Jiu greets the demon emperor, immortal emperor Sun Wuxuan. So it's you, Fire Phoenix." Sun Wuxuan's furry face had a hint of disdain. "Why aren't you guarding your demon master? What are you doing here?" "Phoenix," The demon emperor was a little surprised and cupped his hands slightly. So it's Immortal Emperor Fire Phoenix. What phoenix? He's just a mixed blood, Sun Wuxuan said disdainfully. He can only be considered a phoenix. Feng Jiu was not embarrassed and smiled. Immortal Emperor's son is correct. I am indeed a phoenix seed, and I want to transform into a true phoenix. The male phoenix was the phoenix, and the female phoenix was the phoenix. The Phoenix 9 was only the phoenix species and contained the blood of the phoenix. The demon emperor nodded. Feng Jiu was the immortal emperor who lent the phoenix spear to Kuan Yu. I wonder what immortal emperor Feng Jiu is here for? The demon emperor's expression returned to indifference. Now, he had Sun Wuxuan by his side, a peak immortal emperor. From Sun Wuxuan's disdainful expression, it was clear that Feng Jiu was far weaker than him. Of course, he didn't need to care about such a situation. Feng 9 was not angry. The current demon emperor indeed had the right to not give him face. Feng Jiu said, I'm here to welcome Immortal Emperor Wu Xian, and also to discuss with the demon monarch about the heavenly god of justice. Heavenly god of justice? What's the matter? The demon emperor was puzzled. Could it be that Feng Jiu also believed in the heavenly law palace? Kuan Yu is weak and can't see it, but you, as an immortal emperor, can't see it either? Feng Jiu looked at Sun Wuxuan and hesitated for a moment before saying, I heard that immortal King Sun Yuan broke through in the Holy Land and comprehended many immortal scriptures, including the Phoenix immortal scripture. I see. I thought you came for the heavenly law palace, the demon emperor said lightly. Feng Jiu shook her head. I carefully looked at the secret key. It is condensed from divine power. Although I don't know if the heavenly law palace is real or fake, the Phoenix immortal scripture that immortal King Sun Yuan saw is real. The secret key was casually made by Jiang Chongkong. It could be called a real secret key, but there was no heavenly law palace. Just from the secret key alone, it was impossible to determine if the heavenly law palace was real or fake. What is this heavenly law palace? Sun Wuxuan asked. Feng Jiu was silent for a moment and didn't speak. What if this monkey believed her? The demon emperor smiled. This heavenly law palace is completely fake. After talking with the heavenly god of justice, it is clear, the demon emperor told him the truth, but he didn't mention Sun Yuan. He only said that his main body and the divine court worked together to capture the demon master alive and lure his main body out. Feng Jiu's face twitched. Sun Wuxuan slapped his thigh as if he just found out. This silly bird is a disgrace to the Kuan-Pung. Then, the demon emperor looked at Feng Jiu. Immortal Emperor Feng Jiu wants the Phoenix immortal scripture. This is a bit difficult. After all, the Phoenix divine spear has attracted his attention. Demon Emperor, we are both monsters. If you help me, Feng Jiu will not refuse in the future, Feng Jiu said solemnly. I really don't need you in the future, Sun Wuxuan said without hesitation. Sit down and have a drink. If there is anything, we can talk about it later. The Demon Emperor added more seats to the banquet. Everyone at the banquet was from Mount Huagua and the godly kings he had subdued. These people were only temporarily subdued, and he didn't have full control over them yet. If he said some things, the news would probably spread. The banquet lasted for half a day before everyone left. The Demon Emperor, Sun Wuxuan, and the other monkeys of Mount Huagua entered the divine palace. Feng Jiu also followed. The Demon Emperor looked at him and said, The Phoenix immortal scripture is incomplete. It is only at the immortal king level. When he became an immortal emperor, the Holy Land would have immortal emperor level content and enlightenment. Feng Jiu was able to become an immortal emperor. Her cultivation method should be the Phoenix immortal scripture, but it was also incomplete. Feng Jiu was a bit disappointed. She frowned. Jiang Chongkong doesn't have the complete Phoenix immortal scripture? The Demon Emperor thought about it and didn't say anything definite. Not for now. I don't know about it in the future. I want to go to the Holy Land and see the incomplete Phoenix Immortal Scripture, Feng Jiu said. I'm afraid the Divine Court won't let you go. I can talk to the Heavenly God of Justice, the Demon Emperor said. Although Feng Jiu might not care about Jiang Chongkong, the Holy Land was still nurturing powerful cultivators for the Divine Court. It could be considered part of the Divine Court's business. If Feng Jiu wanted to touch him, it would be quite troublesome. Feng Jiu pondered for a moment. Can you pass it to me? The Demon Emperor smiled. What can Immortal Emperor Feng Jiu give me? I'm only making a deal with the Heavenly God of Justice. You can't let me use my own things to make a deal. I wonder if the Demon Emperor is interested in the underworld? Feng Jiu said in a deep voice. Right now they are all fighting for the method to open the underworld. The underworld? The Demon Emperor showed an interested expression. Sun Wuxuan said, there is a sky hidden in the underworld. Right now, the 4 major forces are all searching for the underworld. The Demon Court has been hiding this information from Huagua Mountain. Feng Jiu, what do you mean by that? Betraying the Demon Court and planning to join the Demon Emperor? As a member of the Demon race, the Demon Emperor is loyal to the Demon Court. Why would Immortal Emperor Wuxuan say that? Feng Jiu frowned slightly with a hint of dissatisfaction. The monkeys of Huagua Mountain were indeed unruly. They drew a clear line between the two sides. Sun Wuxuan sneered. Who could draw a clear line? When did the Demon Court really treat Donghuang Changyue as the Demon Emperor? Feng Jiu said again. The Demon Court has completely accepted the Demon Emperor. In less than 3 days, the Demon Emperor's oracle will arrive. At that time, the Demon Emperor will also fight for the method to open the underworld. Chapter 655. The Monster Court and the Monster Emperor had also decided to recognize him as the Monster Emperor. In the future, he would truly be above 10,000 monsters and below only 1 monster. Even facing the Monster Emperor, he could call him brother. The method to open the underworld had already been figured out. The 4 factions couldn't start a war now and fight for the method to open the underworld. They decided to fight for the method to open the underworld with their own means. The person who opened the underworld would have the priority to enter the underworld. The other 3 factions would have to give up 3 days. If they could find the Heavenly Tao fragment within 3 days and awaken the awakened Heavenly Tao, the benefits would belong to the faction. If they couldn't find the Heavenly Tao fragment within 3 days and awaken the sleeping Heavenly Tao, the other 3 factions would attack. Where is the method to open the underworld now? The Monster Emperor asked. In an Immortal Emperor ruin, discovered by the Immortal Court, Feng Jiu said. That Immortal Court Immortal King didn't hide the news and spread it. Immortal Court Immortal King? He didn't hide the news? The Monster Emperor was shocked. What about that Immortal King? He was killed by the Immortal Court, Feng Jiu said calmly. Not everyone is Heavenly Justice God Jiang Chongkong. Jiang Chongkong was very strong and couldn't find an opponent at the same cultivation level, let alone the other Immortal Kings. If they dared to betray him, they would have to pay the price. I'm curious why the Heavenly Court didn't send an Immortal Emperor to kill Jiang Chongkong. The Monster Emperor was confused. Jiang Chongkong already has the power to challenge normal Immortal Emperors. If he continues to grow, it will be difficult to suppress him. I'm not sure either. I wanted to attack but was stopped by the Monster Emperor. Feng Jiu shook her head. The Monster Emperor fell into deep thought. He hadn't seen the Monster Emperor stop the Immortal Emperor from attacking his main body. The Heavenly Tharch didn't send an Immortal Emperor after the Heavenly Court either. After Heavenly Monarch Ziwei failed, he didn't chase after him anymore. This wasn't normal. Could it be that there was a force protecting his main body? He didn't think so. The strongest forces in the Heaven Realm were the 4 factions. His main body had already offended most of them. Demon Sovereign, let's ask about the Phoenix Celestial Scripture. Feng 9 sounded a little anxious. If you need anything in the future, I will definitely not decline. 2 days later, I will give you the answer. The Demon Emperor waved his hand. Then, I'll have to trouble Demon Emperor. Although Feng Jie wanted it now, she knew that it couldn't be rushed, so she could only leave. Sun Wuxuan's eyes flashed. After Feng Jie left, he said, Jiang Chongkong is still alive. Perhaps the heavens don't allow it. Heaven? The Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes and said, the Heavenly Emperor and the others should be able to withstand the backlash. The Heavenly Emperor had personally given the order to kill them. As the Heavenly Tao recovers, the power of the heavens will become stronger and stronger, and the backlash will also become more terrifying. Sun Wuxuan explained, of course, I'm just guessing. Back then, our ancestor made such a big fuss. How could the Jade Emperor not want to kill him? The demon sovereign fell into silence. He would only know the answer in the future. His main body didn't find any chaotic divine stones. Instead, he encountered some rogue god kings who had committed heinous crimes. He directly enforced the law and obtained resources. The divine planets sped up and flew back. Jiang Chongkong stood on one of them, digesting the information his secondary body had received. The underworld was finally going to open. He didn't know if Mother Ghost Mother, the Netherworld Dragon, and the others were still alive after their ascension. The divine planets under his feet emitted dazzling light. Ethereal celestial chi appeared, and a figure condensed. You are? Jiang Chongkong furrowed his brows. There was no information on the heavenly book. Someone had concealed the heavenly secrets completely. Heavenly God of Justice, I'm also here to make a deal with you, the figure said lightly. Jiang Chongkong looked at the figure. His face was blurry, and his body was completely condensed by celestial power. It wasn't his main body. What deal? Jiang Chongkong asked lightly. The method to open the underworld is being fought over by the 4 major forces. Are you interested? The figure said in a low voice. Jiang Chongkong frowned. The method to open the underworld? If there are 4 major forces, why are you looking for me? I just want to get something from you, the figure said lightly. If you're interested, we can make this deal. I have a way to send you in. What do you want? Jiang Chongkong thought. He didn't seem to have anything on him that was worth the other party's attention. The figure said in a low voice, the divine artifact's origin. Jiang Chongkong's pupils contracted. He had never taken out the divine artifact's origin. Why was he being targeted? He had only used it in Immortal Emperor Qing Feng's Chaos Beast lair, but no one knew about it. Could it be because he had given them the fragment of the monster race's supreme treasure? I only have the fragment of the Bell of Chaos. I've already given it to the Monster King, Jiang Chongkong said indifferently. The figure didn't say anything. He stared at him, as if he wanted to see through him, as if he was confirming whether he was telling the truth. Jiang Chongkong's expression was calm. He wasn't afraid of the figure's prying eyes. After a long time, the figure said, since that's the case, I only want a wisp of immortal title aura. How about it? Immortal title aura? It's that simple? Jiang Chongkong was slightly surprised. I'm only here to make a deal. Heavenly God of Justice, do you think this deal is worth it? The figure said calmly. I can do it, but I can also not do it. With my strength, even if I obtain the method to open it, it's useless. Jiang Chongkong said indifferently, add more chips. Also, I need to know who I'm making this deal with. You can call me Celestial Spirit. I can't have too many chips. It's just a wisp of immortal title aura. The figure said indifferently, 3,000 peak 6th grade immortal stones. 3,000 peak 6th grade immortal stones? 1,200,000? Jiang Chongkong's brows twitched. He didn't expect this person to be so generous. It's still not enough. Also, why do you want the immortal title aura? I'm just curious, Celestial Spirit said indifferently. Jiang Chongkong sneered. Do you believe that yourself? Just because you're curious, you want to take out 3,000 peak 6th grade immortal stones? Your curiosity is really expensive. If the heavenly God of justice isn't willing to make this deal, then I'll have to find someone else. Celestial Spirit was about to leave after saying that. Wait, add a little more, and I'll agree to this deal, Jiang Changkong said hurriedly. He still couldn't give up on the 1,200,000 essences. There was still a huge gap for him to become an immortal emperor. He had to think of a way to obtain more essences. Celestial Spirit stopped and didn't bargain with him. It was very determined. It wasn't even willing to add one more piece. Jiang Changkong had no choice but to agree. A crack appeared in the void, and 3,000 peak 6th grade immortal stones flew out and landed beside him. Immortal Emperor. Behind this celestial spirit was an immortal emperor. He separated a wisp of immortal tidal aura and gave it to Celestial Spirit. Then, he watched as it disappeared with the immortal tidal aura. Jiang Changkong accepted the immortal stones and extracted the essences. When he entered the netherworld, Celestial Spirit would bring him in. To be able to bring him into the ruins without being detected by the 4 major factions, was it a new faction or one of them? Was it the Divine Court or the Celestial Court? The Heavenly Court definitely wouldn't let him in. The Demon Court wouldn't either. They wanted to open the netherworld themselves. I'll take it one step at a time. If I want to improve rapidly and become a sage, I still have to attack the 4 major factions. Jiang Changkong didn't think too much about it. Whatever schemes these people had, it wasn't something he should worry about. When the time came, he would tell the Demon Court through his secondary body and let them investigate. Chapter 656. The Demon Emperor's divine decree arrived, conferring Dong Wang Changyue the title of Demon Emperor. From today onwards, he was the Demon Emperor that everyone in the Demon Court had to respect. He also knew the location of the relic that contained the method to open the gates of hell. It was in the primal chaos and it was very unstable. It could barely withstand the impact of an early-stage immortal emperor. If an early-stage immortal emperor were to unleash his full strength, this ruin would definitely collapse and be engulfed by the primal chaos. Only God Emperors and below were allowed to enter. Moreover, Demon Emperors were not allowed to use the fragment of the Eastern Emperor Bell unless it was absolutely necessary. The other 3 factions also sent peak celestial kings to the ruins with celestial emperor treasures. Sun Wuxuan drove the chariot, and the sky-devouring python dragged the chariot into the primal chaos. With an immortal emperor like him around, they could be a little more arrogant. Amidst the endless primal chaos, it was dusky and looked extremely empty. All the major forces entered the primal chaos. Jiang Changkong entered a spatial crack, and when he reappeared, he was already in the primal chaos. The celestial spirit floated beside him. Within the celestial energy, there was a trace of primal chaos aura. Unexpectedly, it was not affected by the primal chaos. Jiang Changkong's eyes narrowed. How do you plan to bring this king in? That relic is already riddled with holes. There's more than one entrance. A faint smile appeared on the Xianling's face. After all of them enter, the heavenly God of justice can enter from another entrance. Do you know a lot about the ruins? Jiang Changkong frowned. I discovered it by chance. I don't really know much about it. The immortal spirit sped up and charged towards the ruins. The ruins were not far away, and his secondary body had already arrived. The other 3 factions also had immortal emperors protecting them, but they weren't as powerful as Sun Wuxuan. The immortal spirit suddenly attached itself to his body, causing Jiang Changkong to frown. Just as he was about to speak, the immortal spirit whispered, "Don't worry, this king only wants you to enter quietly." Jiang Changkong felt as if he had disappeared. No, it was as if he had merged with the chaos. They were one with the primal chaos, inseparable. They went around the immortals of the 4 factions and approached the ruins. A dilapidated palace appeared in Xiao Chen's line of sight. It swayed in the primal chaos, as if it would crumble at any moment. There were holes everywhere in the palace, but no one had entered. His secondary body replied that there was another world inside. The fairy spirit took him in through a hole. Jiang Changkong's vision blurred, and he found himself in a dark area. Endless death chi surged, just like the Yellow Springs lineage's self-sealing ground, but this place was stronger and more sturdy. The immortal spirit had already left. He didn't even know when it had left. Jiang Changkong hid in the thick death chi and waited patiently for his secondary body to find him. This time, other than the Demon Emperor, the Demon Master had also come. There was also a heaven-devouring python at the peak of the Immortal King realm. The Demon Court did not only rely on a Demon Emperor. The Demon Master also had to make contributions to redeem his lost phase. As for the other three forces, the Divine Court had Ji Chang'an, but he did not know the other two. There were two familiar faces from the Heavenly Court, pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Ziwei, and one he had never seen before. He did not know anyone from the Immortal Court. The heavenly tomes had already lost their effect in the primal chaos. Demon Sovereign, where are we going now? The heaven-devouring python asked. It was the same everywhere here. There was only the aura of death. He didn't know how to find it. Kuan Yu said indifferently, "Why don't we split up? If you find anything, send a message." "Sure," the Demon Emperor said lightly. He could inform his main body to take action. The Demon Master and the heaven-devouring python left right away. They didn't want to stay with the Demon Emperor any longer. The pagoda-bearing Heavenly Kings also split up and searched the ruins. After Kuan Yu and the heaven-devouring python left the Demon Emperor, they gathered together and didn't split up. "Demon Master, are we really going to abandon the Demon Emperor?" The heaven-devouring python looked around anxiously. The Demon Emperor was a ruthless person and wasn't as forgiving as he said he was. The heaven-devouring python that offended him was still pulling the carriage. He didn't want to become the second heaven-devouring python. Kuan Yu said coldly, "He bullied your heaven-devouring python lineage, and you still want to follow him? After all, we are here for the Demon Court's mission. We should focus on the mission." The heaven-devouring python said. "What does the mission have to do with Dongwang Changyue?" Kuan Yu laughed coldly. "You and I are both at the limit of Celestial King. Without the support of the Demon Court, how can we become Celestial Emperors? As long as we find the way to open the underworld and complete the mission, the Demon Emperor will definitely reward us." Celestial Emperors. No matter which faction they were in, they were members of the highest level. They weren't on the same level as Celestial Kings like them. No matter how powerful a limit Celestial King was, they weren't Celestial Emperors. The Demon Court could command Celestial Kings but not Celestial Emperors. Especially someone like Sun Wuxuan, who was at the limit of Celestial Emperors. With the sea-calming Divine Needle, they were invincible as long as Celestial Sovereigns didn't appear. The heaven-devouring python was tempted. He didn't think about the Demon Emperor anymore. Completing the mission and getting the reward was the most important. He would let the Demon Emperor slowly find it himself. Kuan Yu plucked one of his feathers and blew on it. It turned into thousands of little Kuan Pings and spread their wings. The heaven-devouring python turned into countless little snakes and searched the ground. They worked together, one searching the sky and the other searching the ground. It was foolproof. The other three factions had similar methods. Kuan Yu's main body flew into the sky and flapped his wings. The deathly energy separated. That is, suddenly, a face appeared in the deathly energy. A face that he would never forget in his life. No, this must be my illusion. Why would Jiang Changkong come here? Kuan Yu shook his head vigorously. This was a ruin related to the underworld. Only the four factions knew about it. How could Jiang Changkong know? Even if he knew, there were 4 celestial emperors guarding outside. How could he run in? This must be my illusion. There might be an array formation hidden here. The immortal array in the ruin is trying to affect my mind. Kuan Yu snorted coldly. He couldn't be affected. He had to run first. Although it was fake, this immortal array was so strange. He had to find a place to calm down and think carefully about how to break this place. Kuan Yu. A cold voice sounded. Kuan Yu was shocked to find that Jiang Chongkong had appeared beside him. This is fake, this is an illusion. He kept warning himself. A cold light slashed towards Jiang Chongkong. He raised his palm and the cold light was destroyed. The deathly energy fled frantically. Kuan Yu's neck tightened and he screamed in horror. This is not an illusion. This is King real. He's taking the resources I just obtained from the Demon Master's spatial equipment. As expected of the Demon Master, Jiang Chongkong said faintly. Another million essence, energy, and spirit. He suddenly didn't want to kill this guy. Every time they met, this guy would give him a gift. He could harvest continuously and was very good at accumulating wealth. Demon Master. The sky-devouring python flew over with boundless deathly energy. Kuan Yu's wings and claws were flapping, but he couldn't struggle. Fortunately, his throat loosened and he hurriedly yelled, "Hurry up and invite the Demon Emperor." Jiang Chongkong. The sky-devouring python. Didn't we stop playing with the Demon Emperor? Why the hell are we going to invite the Demon Emperor now? Holy F***CK, the heavenly god of justice, Jiang Chongkong? Why is this guy here? The sky-devouring python was scared out of his wits. He turned around and ran, activating his power to the extreme. However, he didn't succeed. His speed was pitifully slow in Jiang Chongkong's eyes. Chapter 657. The heaven-devouring python had more resources than the Demon Master. He had 1.3 million. Although this supreme godly king was not as good as the Demon Master, he was still stronger than ordinary supreme godly kings. Jiang Chongkong, the Demon King is here too. If you dare to touch me, the Demon King will definitely not let you off. Kuan Yu threatened fiercely. However, his words were very powerless. That was because the Demon King was on good terms with this heavenly god of justice. They would not attack. The heaven-devouring python was also trembling. My brothers are pulling the carriage for the Demon King. The Demon King will stand up for me. In despair, they could only use the name of the Demon King. They hoped that this heavenly god of justice would spare their lives for the sake of the Demon King. They had completely forgotten that they had wanted to get rid of the Demon King and make a contribution themselves. Demon Master. Jiang Chongkong let out a soft sigh and loosened his grip. Forget it, this king will spare you this time. Kuan Yu heaved a sigh of relief. His life was finally saved. The heaven-devouring python saw hope. The name of the Demon King was indeed useful. In the future, it would be better for him to follow the Demon King. The Demon Master was too useless. How many times had it been? Jiang Chongkong left. Killing the Demon Master now was a bad deal. It was better to let him continue to be a treasure delivery boy. After confirming that Jiang Chongkong had really left, the Demon Master and the heaven-devouring python lay on the ground and panted. It was too terrifying. They had no way to resist. Facing Jiang Chongkong was like facing the immortal emperor. It made the Demon King feel despair. After 15 minutes, the two of them calmed down. The heaven-devouring python looked at Kuan Yu and asked, "Demon Master, why didn't you take out the immortal emperor treasure and fight him?" Kuan Yu. And then give the immortal emperor treasure to Jiang Chongkong? The heaven-devouring python said with a disappointed expression, "The Demon Master and I are both at the peak of the immortal king realm. If we use the immortal emperor treasure at the same time, we can definitely suppress Jiang Chongkong." Kuan Yu frowned. "I know Jiang Chongkong's strength. Even with an immortal emperor treasure, he can't take him down. Demon Master, you think too highly of him. With our immortal emperor treasures, we can definitely capture Jiang Chongkong alive." The heaven-devouring python solemnly said. Kuan Yu sneered. "What a joke. You couldn't even escape just now. How are you going to fight him? That is because I don't have an immortal emperor's treasure. If it was in my hands, how could I let Jiang Changkong be so arrogant? The heaven-devouring python confidently said. Kuan Yu was in a daze. It was as if he was looking at his past self. At that time, he found an excuse for himself that he didn't have an immortal emperor treasure. Otherwise, he would have killed his way into the holy ground and nailed Jiang Changkong to the ground. After he obtained an immortal emperor's treasure and killed his way into the Holy Land, he was nailed to the ground by Jiang Changkong. After that, he found an excuse that he was injured and had consumed too much energy. In the end, he lost the Wu-slaying sword and almost died at the hands of Jiang Changkong. This heaven-devouring python was the same as him back then. He was also looking for an excuse. He wasn't willing to accept the fear just now. Kuan Yu saw through everything. He wouldn't be so stupid to hand the immortal emperor treasure to him and let him become the treasure boy's snake. Jiang Changkong. The heaven-devouring python's gaze suddenly froze. Kuan Yu's expression changed. Jiang Changkong, who had left, had returned. I heard that you brought the immortal emperor treasure. Cold words spread. Kuan Yu shivered. He directly took out the phoenix spear and threw it to the heaven-devouring python. He spread his wings and fled. He had the fastest speed. He could definitely escape. As for that stupid heaven-devouring python, he wanted to suppress Jiang Changkong. He forcefully took the immortal emperor treasure. He was the one who lost it. So be it. As long as he wasn't the treasure boy bird, it was fine. The heaven-devouring python looked at Kuan Yu's fleeing figure. He was a little confused. However, he was even more determined. The demon master was a piece of trash. He kept the immortal emperor treasure. Jiang Changkong, who had returned, turned into a small snake and returned to his body. He used demonic energy to create this. The trash demon master was already scared out of his wits. He couldn't even see through such a small trick. The heaven-devouring python also left. However, he first contacted the Demon King. Great Demon King, subordinate heaven-devouring python has something to report. The jade token flashed. The Demon King's voice sounded. Did you find the method to open the underworld? No, Demon King, it is something else. We met Jiang Changkong. Demon Master was so scared that he lost the immortal emperor treasure. I risked my life to get it back. The heaven-devouring python said emotionally. He was the hero who got the immortal emperor treasure back. Demon Master Kuan Yu? That was just a trash who ran away. The Demon King paused for a moment. I will come and find you now. Yes. The heaven-devouring python said respectfully. In the dark space, Jiang Changkong was stunned. The heaven-devouring python's actions really caught him off guard. What did he mean by taking the immortal emperor treasure and being able to suppress him? It was all a lie to Kuan Yu. Kuan Yu didn't fall for it. He wasn't willing to hand over the immortal emperor treasure, so he created him. After getting the immortal emperor treasure, he didn't hesitate to contact the Demon King to express his loyalty. This immortal emperor treasure was proof of his loyalty. If he didn't bring anything, why would the Demon King accept him? Jiang Changkong left. He went to find the other heavenly kings. There were also 3 factions and 9 heavenly kings. They were all at the peak of the immortal king realm. As long as each of them had 1,000,000, he would have the resources to perfect his Xian technique or Dao body. At that time, he would be half a peak immortal king. The Demon King arrived quickly. The heaven-devouring python knelt down and offered the treasure. Demon King, this is the immortal emperor treasure. Thank you. The Demon King accepted the phoenix spear. What would Feng Jiu's expression be like after he left? He was looking forward to it. Where is the Demon Master? The heaven-devouring python said angrily. Kuan Yu is despicable and shameless. He is as timid as a mouse and ran away. At the crucial moment, I suddenly thought of the Demon King and felt my strength increase greatly. I forcefully took the immortal Emperor treasure. I was able to take back the immortal Emperor treasure because of the Demon King's aura. The Demon King, you are only a peak immortal king. What a pity. No matter how strong my aura is, I can't support you from so far away. However, he didn't expose the heaven-devouring python's flattery. He didn't ask for the details. Follow me to find the Demon Master. Now that Jiang Chongkong is here, we don't know what dangers there are in the ruins. We have to work together to complete the mission. The Demon King is magnanimous. You don't care about the past and are wholeheartedly working for the Demon Court. I admire you. The heaven-devouring python flattered him again. The Demon King's expression was a little unnatural. He brought him away. They had to find the Demon Master Kuan Yu, but he wasn't sure if they would find him in the end. If he died in the ruins, he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't save a dead immortal king, especially in the primal chaos. Even sages couldn't do it. The two of them flew in the air and chased after the direction that Kuan Yu left in. Boom! A golden light came from afar. It was dazzling and pierced through the deathly aura. Demon Master Kuan Yu's shrill cries could also be heard. It's the Demon Master. The Demon King hurriedly brought the heaven-devouring python over. The heaven-devouring python wasn't afraid that Kuan Yu would expose him. He could just give an excuse that the Demon King returned. What else could Kuan Yu do? Countless deathly auras condensed into many mysterious patterns. That was an immortal formation. Bird feathers flew and demon blood splattered. Kuan Yu was in an extremely miserable state. Chapter 658. The Monster King stepped into the immortal formation. The heaven-swallowing python wanted to follow but was stopped by the Monster King. This was an immortal emperor formation. Even though the ruins were on the verge of collapsing, ordinary peak immortal kings wouldn't be able to block it. If he had the immortal emperor treasure, Kuan Yu would at most be in a sorry state. But now, his immortal emperor treasure had been tricked by the heaven-swallowing python. Without the immortal emperor treasure, the immortal formation's attack had severely injured him. The thick immortal emperor treasure turned into 8 Hades dragons. They weren't serpents, but real divine dragons. They looked exactly like real dragons. Each of them had the power of a peak god king. 2 of them were peak immortal kings. The Hades dragons tore their feathers and the immortal formation sealed the space. His top speed was useless here. Kuan Peng's blood splattered. Kuan Yu screamed in pain as a Hades dragon tore off a large piece of his flesh. He wanted to consume the pill, but Jiang Chongkong had already taken it away. Kuan Yu was in despair. He screamed in pain, hoping that someone would come and save him. The heavens were still on his side. The Monster King came. He stepped into the immortal formation and suppressed it with a power that surpassed peak immortal kings. The 8 Hades dragons charged at the Monster King at the same time, abandoning Kuan Yu. Roar! The Hades dragons roared. The immortal formation's patterns were like meridians, stabilizing their bodies. Buzz! Extreme power exploded. The Hades dragon's body glowed with gray chaotic light and golden crow light. The aura of death was dissipating, and the abyss dragons stopped in the air. Under Kuan Yu and the heaven-swallowing python's terrified gazes, they melted like snow in the sun. The celestial formation also shattered and lost its divine might. Monster King is invincible. The heaven-devouring python's excited voice came over, trying his best to flatter him. Kuan Yu! Why was the Monster King here? And with the heaven-swallowing python? Could it be that the Monster King had come as soon as he ran? Monster Master, are you okay? The Monster King destroyed the immortal formation and asked with concern. Kuan Yu came to his senses and quickly said, "Thank you, Monster King." The Monster King said calmly, "It's good that you're fine. Be careful and don't be too rash." "Yes," Kuan Yu answered, not knowing what else to say. If it was in the past, he would definitely not appreciate it. But now, there was still a Jiang Chongkong in the dark. Who knew if he would come over to kill him? Just now, he had already left and returned. It would be safer to follow the demon emperor. Jiang Chongkong would not kill the demon sovereign in front of him. The heaven-swallowing python had survived Jiang Chongkong's attack. Demon emperor, there's something down there. The heaven-devouring python's gaze swept downwards, piercing through the aura of death. The spirit demon emperor brought them down. There was a hole in the ground, and there were specks of light flickering inside. With a wave of his hand, the ground split open, revealing the situation within the crater. There was a palm-sized statue of the netherworld abyssal dragon. There was also a broken black bowl with ancient bridges and rivers drawn on it. The statue was made of primal chaos divine stones. Other than its sturdiness, there was nothing special about it. The broken bowl, on the other hand, was an immortal artifact. It was only an upper grade 6 immortal artifact. If it was complete, it should be a top-tier grade 6 immortal artifact. The demon sovereign checked it for a while, and did not find any clues about the way to open the netherworld. He then threw it to the heaven-swallowing python and said, "This is your reward." "Thank you, Lord Demon Emperor." The heaven-swallowing python immediately accepted it and bowed in excitement. "It's just a broken 6th grade bowl. Look at how happy you are. To think that you're only at the limit of the immortal king realm." Demon Master Kuan Yu felt disdain, but for some reason, he felt a little envious. No, how could he be envious? He was a demonic master. He did not care about this kind of trash. Furthermore, he did not want the reward from this mixed-fur demonic monarch. On the other side, Jiang Chongkong had just cleared an immortal array. There were many celestial arrays hidden in this dark relic. If one was not careful, even a peak celestial king would die. He had some gains here as well. It was just a stone that was equivalent to a grade 6 medium immortal weapon. To him, it was just trash. "I'll leave it for my friends. It's not a bad idea to play with it." Golden light flashed in front of him as the 9-storied pagoda released a golden radiance. Purple chi overflowed into the heavens, spreading for 30,000 miles. The golden light broke through the aura of death, and the immortal sword slashed the nether dragon. The 3 heavenly kings entered the formation at the same time and worked together to break it. 3 peak celestial kings attacked with all their strength, and the immortal array collapsed. As the immortal array collapsed, a hole appeared below. The treasures the 3 took out were not good things to them. The 3 heavenly kings were a little disappointed and were about to leave. Heavenly King Ziwei and pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's pupils constricted at the same time. They saw a figure. It was someone who should not be here. "This place is dangerous, but with our strength, we can deal with it. Why don't we split up for now?" Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King said. Heavenly King Ziwei's eyes flashed. "That's a good idea. We can speed things up this way." The other Heavenly King did not think much. "Be careful. If there's danger, contact us immediately." The 3 heavenly kings split up. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King first found a random direction and left. Then, he went around to where the figure in the dark was. Jiang Chongkong hid in the deathly aura and looked at Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. "Why are you here?" Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King had a serious expression. This matter was related to the underworld and a heavenly Tao fragment. The celestial Dharch placed great importance on this matter. "Someone asked me to come and give you some trouble." Jiang Chongkong chuckled. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King, aren't you afraid that I will kill you? Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King's expression darkened. "Heavenly God of Justice, let's not make things difficult for each other. I am grateful to you, not hostile." Jiang Chongkong did not say anything. He knew who was spying on them in the dark, but he pretended not to notice. "Who asked you to come here?" Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King frowned and asked. "I don't want to kill you. Give me your resources and I won't make things difficult for you." "I will tell you what you want to know," Jiang Chongkong said indifferently. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King did not hesitate and threw the spatial equipment over. He could not resist Jiang Chongkong's strength, so he could only hand it over. Jiang Chongkong looked through the resources. He only took those that were useful to him and did not touch the rest. He returned the resources to pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. I don't know who it is either. His incarnation saw me and he called himself Celestial Spirit. Celestial Spirit? Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King was suspicious. I have never heard of it. You are not lying to me? There is no need for that. Celestial Spirit knows this place. He can merge with the chaos and help me merge with it. It is normal that you did not discover him. Jiang Chongkong did not hide it. He could not tell anyone about his deal with Celestial Spirit. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King frowned. Jiang Chongkong ignored him and turned to leave. The figure in the dark followed and chased after Jiang Chongkong. 15 minutes later, Jiang Chongkong stopped and said indifferently, "Ziwei, you still dare to follow me? Are you not afraid that I will kill you? You can cooperate with the monster emperor. Why can't you cooperate with me?" Heavenly King Ziwei sneered. "I saw everything just now. You have already discovered me, but you did not expose me." Not exposing him meant that they had something to talk about. Jiang Chongkong chuckled. "What do you want?" Heavenly King Ziwei took out his spatial equipment and said, "Kill true martial Heavenly King, and I will give you the resources you want." Jiang Chongkong smiled. "I can take the resources in your hands easily. How can they be used as bargaining chips?" Chapter 659. Do you think these resources can satisfy your appetite? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei sneered and tossed the spatial ring to Jiang Chongkong. Jiang Chongkong caught the resources and looked through them. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly Monarch's resources, 1. 2 million. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei, 1. 5 million. It seemed like he didn't care about these resources. There was more? I know about your deal with the Yao Monarch. The Yao Monarch can open the door for you, and so can I, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said indifferently. Kill Heavenly Monarch True Martial for me, and there will be resources afterward. How can I be sure that you will give me resources afterward? Jiang Chongkong said indifferently. The Heavenly God of Justice doesn't kill innocent people. There are no innocent people in this world except mortals, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said coldly. Jiang Chongkong remained silent. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei continued, I will give the resources to the Yao Monarch, and he will give them to you. Deal. Jiang Chongkong agreed. Just as he was about to leave, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei spoke again. I know a little about the immortal spirit. Oh! Jiang Chongkong paused. The immortal spirits were active after the primordial era and before the heavenly court. They almost destroyed the celestial world and many ancient races. They disappeared after the heavenly court was established, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said. The immortal spirits did not die out. Many of them were even immortal sovereigns. Even the heavenly court cannot be destroyed. Jiang Chongkong frowned. I don't know about that. My knowledge is limited. If you want to know, I will go back and look through the ancient books, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said. Who do you want me to kill for you? Jiang Chongkong sighed. Killing will not make the Heavenly Tao choose you. The Heavenly Tao cannot sense the primordial chaos, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said coldly. When there is no choice, one has to choose. You suspect that Heavenly Monarch True Martial has the position of Heavenly Monarch Ziwei? Jiang Chongkong said indifferently. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's voice was cold. True Martial is inferior to me. Everyone wants to advance. Jiang Chongkong felt that he had really gone crazy. He wanted to kill anyone he suspected. If those who were dangerous to him were all dead, the Heavenly Tao would have no choice but to choose him? However, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei didn't know who the immortal title belonged to, or perhaps he didn't even dare to think about it. Jiang Chongkong didn't say anything else. He transformed into a streak of light and left. Heavenly King True Martial didn't go far, nor did he try to find a way to open the underworld. He sat down at a place, and the jade tablet in his hand flickered as he contacted someone. Heavenly King True Martial had no idea that danger was approaching. he said with a gloomy voice. Think of a way to kill Heavenly King Ziwei. He has an immortal emperor treasure. Jiang Changkong was slightly taken aback. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei wanted to kill him. Heavenly King True Marshal actually wanted to kill Ziwei. Had these two Heavenly Kings gone mad? For the Ziwei immortal position, for the immortal emperor? Jiang Changkong has already entered. With his grudge with that old brat Ziwei, he definitely won't let him go. A cold voice sounded. Jiang Changkong's expression froze. How did this person know that he was already here? This wasn't Kuan Yu's voice. Moreover, Kuan Yu was with his secondary body and hadn't contacted anyone. Pagoda-bearing Heavenly King? If it was pagoda-bearing Heavenly King, the two of them could have killed Heavenly Monarch Ziwei in the immortal formation. What if Jiang Changkong doesn't do anything? Heavenly King True Marshal said coldly, You should know that if I want to advance, I have to replace Ziwei. The other party was silent for a while as if thinking. Alright, if Jiang Changkong doesn't do anything, I will kill Ziwei. Only then did Heavenly King True Marshal hang up with satisfaction. He stood up and was about to leave when his body suddenly stiffened. Jiang Changkong suddenly appeared in front of him with his hands behind his back. He didn't make a sound or move at all. True Marshal? Heavenly King True Marshal's expression changed. He gripped his divine sword tightly. Heavenly God of Justice, are you looking for Heavenly Monarch Ziwei? I can guide you. I'm here for you, said Jiang Changkong calmly. Heavenly King True Marshal squeezed out a smile. Heavenly God of Justice has no enmity with me. Why would you come for me? Who were you contacting? Asked Jiang Changkong indifferently. You heard everything? Heavenly King True Marshal's expression turned cold. He didn't have any hope anymore. I heard everything. Boom. Divine light exploded from the divine sword. Heavenly King True Marshal attacked decisively. At this moment, he used all his power. The surrounding death chi surged and surged into his body, increasing his power. A death chi immortal formation appeared in the sky and formed the netherworld dragon. You want to fight with your life with such little power? Jiang Changkong said coldly with murderous intent. I'll give you one more chance. Tell me who you're contacting. It was as if the heavens were enraged. Boundless primordial chaos surged, shattering the immortal array and sending Heavenly King True Marshal flying. The netherworld dragon didn't even have the chance to show his power before disappearing. Jiang Changkong looked at Heavenly King True Marshal with his hands behind his back. Heavenly King True Marshal's expression was gloomy. He swallowed the death chi and raised his power again and again. Finally, he broke through the limit. The divine sword hummed and slashed at Jiang Changkong, unable to withstand his power. Jiang Changkong sighed and raised his palm. The divine light was destroyed, and the divine sword shattered into countless pieces. A head flew into the air and landed in Jiang Changkong's hand. Chaotic divine power tried to collect the soul, but the soul exploded. A seal had been planted on it, preventing it from reading its memories. He disappeared with the head. Heavenly King True Marshal had more resources than Heavenly King Ziwei. He had 1.6 million. The rest were the Divine Court and Celestial Court. Heavenly King Ziwei was very satisfied when he saw Heavenly King True Marshal's head. Jiang Changkong left some chaotic divine power to spy on pagoda-bearing Heavenly King. At the same time, he told Heavenly King Ziwei about Heavenly King True Marshal's contact. He didn't mind giving this guy a scare and also reminding him. It wasn't convenient for him to appear in the Divine Court. He could consider using his identity as a monster emperor. The sacred ground he created was still in the Divine Court. Jiang Changkong walked in the darkness in search of the Celestial Court. The monster emperor and the other two destroyed another formation and found some trash. It was only a 5th-grade immortal artifact. Monster Emperor, I don't know when we will find the way to open the underworld if we continue like this. Kuan Yu was a little tired. He had lost his resources and pills. There was only death chi here. He couldn't even recover. He had been seriously injured before, but this monster emperor didn't take out pills to recover. The monster emperor looked at him and said, "What does the demon master suggest?" "Monster emperor, there must be something wrong with Jiang Chongkong appearing here. He might know the way to open the underworld." Kuan Yu's eyes turned. "I think we should take down Jiang Chongkong first." The heaven-swallowing python was silent. He suspected that the demon master wanted to trick the monster emperor. Was Jiang Chongkong someone an celestial king could deal with? The monster emperor thought for a moment and agreed. "Good suggestion. As expected of the demon master, you have the same idea as me." Kuan Yu had been inciting a fight between him and the main body. If he and the main body weren't the same person, there might really be a winner. Since he wanted to see him fight with the main body, Kuan Yu would satisfy him. Chapter 660. Monster King is Wise. This was the first time Kuan Yu praised Monster King. This was the first time they thought of going together. The heaven-devouring python was somewhat worried. Demon Sovereign, Jiang Chongkong's strength is somewhat terrifying. Kuan Yu was furious. Jiang Chongkong is nothing. Monster King can kill him with one finger. Monster King has the Bell of Chaos to protect him. He couldn't wait for the Demon Dominator and Jiang Chongkong to start a fight. It would be best if both of them were heavily injured, the kind where both of them were on their last breath. That way, he could take advantage of the situation and kill both of them. "But before that, there is something I need to deal with," Monster King said. Kuan Yu panicked. He was afraid that he would be dealt with. "What is it?" Monster King glanced at him. "The other factions. I cannot let them take advantage of my battle with Jiang Chongkong." Monster King is right. Let's get rid of the other factions first. Kuan Yu relaxed. It was fine as long as he was not dealt with. He had the same thought too. Get rid of the other factions and then they would both be heavily injured. In the end, he would be the only one who would benefit. If they were all dead, he would be the only one who could find the way to open the underworld. Python's eyes glowed coldly. This monster master really wasn't a good person. Don't forget, he was still here. Monster Master was strong, but he was heavily injured and all his things were stolen. How could he not beat this bird? First, Divine Palace. Monster King crossed an endless distance and led them to the direction where the three god kings had gone. They crossed the immortal formations. If an immortal formation exploded, it would be destroyed. The three-peaked god kings of the divine court realm were carefully probing the area and maintaining a high level of vigilance. They had already broken a few immortal formations and found many things, but they were all trash. From these immortal artifacts they could not tell that this was an immortal emperor ruin. Damn it, there are so many immortal formations. How long are we going to search? One of the god kings said irritably. Ji Chang'an said calmly, "Let's search slowly. I believe they are having a headache just like us. We can't keep searching like this. We don't know how many immortal formations there are. We might not have enough pills," another god king said. Although they had brought a lot of recovery pills, it wasn't an endless supply. Once they ran out, they might not even be able to leave this place. Ji Chang'an was about to speak when a vast aura swept over. An enormous being with monstrous demonic energy flapped its wings. "I am here to help you solve your problems." The demonic emperor descended, and the aura of death surged. Its divine might shook everything within 10,000 miles. It was Kuan Yu who had taken on a human form. Because the spirit demon emperor was finally going to satisfy him, he generously let the spirit demon emperor ride him. As for that king, though he was also an immortal king, how could he ride Monster King Dong Wang Changyue? Ji Chang and the other two's expressions darkened, and they said coldly, "What are you doing here?" "King Demon. King Dong Wang, Monster King is. King Dong Wang you." The divine sword in Ji Chang'an's hand shone with a cold light. During this period of time, I have been hearing about how powerful the Monster King is and how he can fight against the godly King of Justice. The eyes of the other two God Kings were cold. A divine sword appeared above their heads, and unique innate divine runes appeared on it. A figure condensed on the divine sword, displaying the power of a deity. The terrifying sword energy seemed to be above everything, exuding an aura that transcended the celestial world. Godly Dharch treasure. The death chi in the surroundings surged, and everyone retreated. 10,000 Li Kuan Yu and the heaven-devouring python also retreated. They did not have immortal Dharch treasures. Monster King had a proud expression. You will despair. Perfect, I can test my chaotic golden crow body. My body has already surpassed the limits of a god king. With the bell of chaos, I don't know how strong it is. Now I can test it. The three god kings controlled the godly Dharch sword, surpassing Kuan Yu. The power of a deity shook the entire ruin. Monster King did not dodge. He even withdrew his divine power, planning to take it head-on with his divine body. Boom! Clang! The godly Dharch sword fell. The sharp divine sword tore apart the golden crow robe and slashed into Monster King's left shoulder. However, he only managed to cut in half an inch and could not go any deeper. What? Ji Chang and the other two were shocked. Kuan Yu and the heaven-devouring python were also stunned. Using only his divine body to take on a godly Dharch treasure head-on? Even a true immortal emperor would not dare to do so, unless it was the witch race. Now, although the godly Dharch sword broke through his defense, it could only go 1 inch in. Monster King's divine body had already reached the level of a godly Dharch? The three of them were dumbfounded. Ji Chang and the other two almost peed their pants. This was not something a god king could deal with. No wonder the monster race dared to say that Monster King could fight Jiang Changkong. Damn it, he really could. Despair? Monster King said expressionlessly. The divine power in his body was recovering, and the divine sword left his body bit by bit. Boundless divine power rose again. The three of them were sent flying, and the blood of a god king splattered in the void. They were in despair, truly in despair. He did not even make a move. Just the rippling divine power and vast divine power could injure them. How could they fight? The godly Dharch sword was sent flying. Monster King took a step forward, caught up with the sword, and held it in his hand. The divine sword buzzed, and divine power erupted. But he was no longer the same as before. This god Dharch treasure only struggled for a while. He kept the godly Dharch sword. If the god dynasty wanted to redeem it, they would have to use resources. The three of them had just stabilized themselves when Monster King appeared in front of them. His expression was cold, and his palm landed. Poochie! Blood splattered once more. The three god kings were on their last breath. He kept the interspatial equipment and threw the three of them to the heaven-swallowing python. Look after them. When we get out, let the god dynasty redeem them. Monster King, don't worry. I will not let them escape. The heaven-swallowing python said coldly. Peak god kings were very precious, and they could be exchanged for many resources. 3 god kings won 2 million each. His essence, energy, and spirit were already over 22 million. If he swept the immortal dynasty, he would definitely be able to complete his mystic art or Tao body. Monster King's divine power. Kuan Yu and the heaven-swallowing python ran over. Kuan Yu looked at the interspatial ring, hoping that Monster King would give him a few bottles of pills to help him recover. But Monster King chose to ignore him. Want pills to recover? No way. Kuan Yu was a little disappointed and a little angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. Monster King was too strong. The injuries caused by the God Emperor's sword had already healed. Celestial artifacts could heal themselves, much less his chaotic golden crow god body. Let's go and find the heavenly court. Monster King brought them away, secretly leaving behind resources for his main body to take. His main body had already rushed over to the immortal dynasty. He would go and find Ziwei and Toda to talk about life and ideals. Kuan Yu's expression was ugly, and he followed beside him silently. Pung! He was kicked, and he stared at the person who kicked him angrily. When he met the cold gaze, he squeezed out a smile. Monster, Monster King. I am going out, Monster King said calmly. You are addicted to sitting on me once. Kuan Yu regretted letting Monster King sit on him once. He was the monster master, not a mount. In the next moment, Kuan Yu spread his wings and flew up. This time, the heaven-swallowing python brought the three god kings to sit on Monster Master's wide back. This was what Monster King wanted. Chapter 661. The three peak celestial kings of the celestial court avoided the immortal formation cleverly, as if they already knew. As if they already knew this, they easily shuttled through the death chi. Why aren't we going to find Heavenly King Ziwei? One of the celestial kings asked coldly. No rush. Jiang Chongkong will rush over if he knows Heavenly King Ziwei is here. The two celestial kings said calmly, we can't hide our strength from him. It won't be too late to go after a while. The celestial king nodded. That's fine. If Jiang Chongkong doesn't kill us, we will. Jiang Chongkong frowned in the death energy. Heavenly King True Marshal contacted people from the celestial court? How did this group of people know that he was coming? And they were so familiar with this place. Were they related to the celestial spirits? Jiang Chongkong didn't rush to act. He followed them in secret to see if he could get more useful information. The three celestial kings continued to pass through the immortal formation. They weren't looking for things, but putting things down. Some broken immortal artifacts were thrown into the hole covered by the immortal array. Jiang Chongkong recognized these immortal artifacts. The ones his secondary body found were similar to the ones they left behind. The death energy was thick, coming from the immortal artifacts they left behind. We should remind them that the method to open the underworld is here. One of the celestial kings said after putting down another immortal artifact. Let's leave here first. We might accidentally trigger it and attract them here. The two celestial kings smiled. I wonder if Jiang Chongkong killed them. It's not a bad idea to give the method to open the underworld to the Yao race. Jiang Chongkong has a grudge with the Heavenly Court and Yao Court. He will definitely kill them. The people from the Divine Court aren't bad, but they shouldn't be a match for the Yao Emperor. The method to open the underworld can only belong to the Yao race. The three celestial kings discussed in a low voice and prepared to leave. Buzz. A chaotic light tore through the death energy and blocked in front of the three. Where are you going? Jiang Chongkong looked at the three of them indifferently. His eyes were filled with coldness. Jiang Chongkong? Their expressions changed slightly. Why are you here? I was bored here, so I wandered around and met the three of you, Jiang Chongkong said calmly. Please step aside. There is no enmity between you and the Immortal Court. We don't want to be your enemy. An immortal king stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Jiang Chongkong smiled calmly. This king just remembered something. Xian Ling asked this king to look for you. Their expressions darkened, and their gazes turned cold. Who told you that? Celestial spirit, Jiang Chongkong said coolly. Nonsense. The three of them shouted coldly. A long saber pierced through the air, displaying the might of a celestial emperor. The innate divine rune started to awaken. Jiang Chongkong's expression was calm. He didn't care about an ordinary grade 7 immortal artifact at the moment. Boom! The chaotic divine energy drowned them, shattering the ancient phantoms and destroying the innate divine patterns. The three immortal kings were directly suppressed. An immeasurable amount of chaos divine power imprisoned them, locking them in the void. Now we can talk about Xian Ling. Jiang Chongkong looked at them coldly. He raised his palm and pressed on the forehead of an immortal king. The chaotic divine energy floated around. He wasn't in a hurry to search his soul. Immortal kings at the peak of the limit might have restrictions in their bodies. It would be best if he could get the answer out of them. If not, he could only try to search their souls. The three immortal kings looked at him coldly. Jiang Changkong, Xian Ling brought you in out of kindness. You don't know how to be grateful. How dare you attack us? Grateful? Jiang Changkong sneered. It's just a deal. He took my immortal title aura. Why should I be grateful? The three immortal kings' expressions darkened. They didn't say anything. Not talking? Jiang Changkong frowned. He slapped one of their heads and searched their souls with chaotic divine energy. Bang! The restriction was triggered. The soul exploded, leaving only a corpse. Jiang Changkong looked at the other two immortal kings, only to see that their life force was quickly dissipating. He injected divine energy into them, wanting to keep them alive. However, the power of the restriction was very domineering. It directly shattered their souls. Immortal Court. Jiang Changkong muttered and collected the spatial equipment of the three. The resources were okay. The three of them added up to 65 million. It was enough to collect the resources left by the Monster Emperor. He wasn't in a hurry to find the method to open the underworld. The body of the Monster Emperor was already no less than a 7th-grade immortal artifact. He could only increase the strength of the Monster Emperor by improving his mystic art. His Tao body would be put aside for now. The essence, energy, and spirit in his body were perfected. His divine power was condensed and compressed, becoming more and more vast and transforming. The Xiantian aura was very thick. The Xiantian divine pattern was perfected. Jiang Changkong felt a trace of restriction. His body was filled with Hotian impurities. He still had a long way to go if he wanted to reverse Hotian and become Xiantian. These restrictions were the laws of the immortal Tao. They were connected to the celestial world. The immortal emperor cut off the restrictions and stood above heaven and earth, jumping out of the celestial world. The heavenly Tao fragment shook again, supporting his transformation. Although the heavenly Tao couldn't control the chaos, it could control him. After all, he had the heavenly Tao fragment on him. With the support of the heavenly Tao, Jiang Changkong quickly transformed and was filled with Xiantian aura. Of course, this wasn't enough. He couldn't become an immortal emperor yet. He would only enter the immortal emperor realm when his Tao body was perfected. Jiang Changkong, Peak Immortal King, God King, 6th Revolution Mystic Art, perfected, 24. 3,000,000/24. 3,000,000 Postnatal Chaotic Tao Body, perfected, 1/24. 3,000,000 Golden Crow Immortal Sutra, Deshang, 3037, 500/3037, 500 Essence, Energy, and Spirit, 2060380. Sensing the vast energy in his body, Jiang Changkong gradually retracted it, not revealing the slightest bit. He headed to the immortal array. He searched the immortal array that the three immortal kings of the immortal court had passed through. These people knew the method to open it and still threw immortal artifacts here. Obviously, the method to open the underworld was also hidden by them. This news was first spread from the immortal court for them to fight for. However, what puzzled Jiang Changkong was why the immortal court didn't just open it themselves. Weren't they tempted by the reward of awakening the heavenly Tao? He awakened the Holy Land, which gave him 50 million heavens power. This time, he must find the heavenly Tao fragment. If he successfully awakened it, he would definitely become an immortal emperor. The immortal array silently opened, revealing the immortal artifacts inside. Jiang Changkong took all of them and looked carefully, but there was no way to open it. He wasn't in a hurry. The three immortal kings said that it was here, so it shouldn't be able to escape. The small immortal arrays opened one after another, revealing broken immortal artifacts. It wasn't until he opened the 15th immortal array that a statue with a green face and sharp fangs caught his attention. Inside the statue there was a special aura, Ghost Chi. Chaos divine power entered it, and streams of information surged into his mind. The method to open the underworld. A profound netherworld great array that required the blood essence of the witch race to open the underworld. Jiang Chongkong wasn't from the witch race, but there was the blood essence of the witch race inside this statue. The blood essence was well preserved, and it still contained terrifying power. It was definitely not weaker than the blood essence of an ultimate god king. Celestial spirits. Jiang Chongkong's heart sank. The witch race couldn't be found in the celestial world, but now there was the blood essence of the witch race inside the statue. Were the celestial spirits and the immortal court on the same side, or were they just working together like him? Chapter 662. He kept the statue. From afar, a majestic aura was quickly closing in. The giant Kunpeng gave off boundless deathly energy. Jiang Chongkong stepped in front of the Kunpeng. The complete Khanate god pattern suppressed the deathly energy within 10,000 miles. Jiang Chongkong, the demon sovereign, is here. Why are you not surrendering? Kun Yu didn't give up any chance to provoke the monster emperor and Jiang Chongkong to fight. He was like a clown. The heaven-swallowing python had a look of disdain. This trash monster master really lost the face of the monster race. Jiang Chongkong didn't say anything. He looked at the 5 people on the back of the Kunpeng. The 3 god kings of the god palace and 2 heavenly kings of the heavenly court were all on the verge of death. Ji Chang'an looked like he saw his savior. He ignored his weakness and shouted, "God King of Justice, save me." A beam of golden light swept past him, causing him to scream out in pain. Kun Yu looked at Jiang Chongkong in delight. He raised his head provocatively. In exchange, the monster emperor stood on top of his head. The monster emperor felt that this was a good position. He could see far from here. Monster emperor, are we still going to make a deal this time? Jiang Chongkong smiled. The monster emperor said calmly, bargaining chips. The method to open the underworld is in my hands. Where is the monster emperor? Jiang Chongkong said calmly. They are in my hands. The monster emperor pointed at Ji Chang'an and the other 2. Jiang Chongkong frowned. Not enough. Ji Chang'an and the other 2 were a little unhappy, but they knew that they weren't enough. Kun Yu was anxious. If we make another deal, you won't fight anymore? How can I be the fisherman then? Monster Emperor, this Jiang Chongkong is so untactful. We should kill him. Kun Yu said fiercely. The monster emperor glanced at him and said calmly, 3 palms. If I can't beat you, then I will offer more. Jiang Chongkong's expression turned solemn. This king has long since thought of competing with the demonic sovereign. Kun Yu was instantly excited. He sank down and left quickly. There would definitely be a shocking battle later. He couldn't be affected. He had to conserve his strength and be the fisherman. The demonic emperor released a shocking divine aura. Demonic energy surged, and the divine fire of the sun spread for thousands of miles. Jiang Chongkong's innate divine runes filled the void as he raised his right palm. Be careful! With a cold shout, the 2 of them attacked at the same time and their palms collided. Boom! Divine might surged out like a tidal wave, engulfing a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Kun Yu, who had just flown out, was blown away. He didn't hide far enough. Their palms separated as soon as they touched, and both of them retreated at the same time. Mournful screams resounded as the demonic bloody light broke through the death chi. The Wu-slaying sword. Jiang Chongkong gripped the evil sword. Countless vengeful spirits howled and roared, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws in the air, looking extremely ferocious. The Wu-slaying sword. Kun Yu gnashed his teeth, filled with humiliation and hatred. The appearance of the Wu-slaying sword solidified his title as the treasure-giving bird. However, he was about to get it back. Once both of them were heavily injured, he would be able to wash away all his shame and obtain even greater glory. Demon Sovereign. Sun Wuxuan should have given him a grade 7 immortal artifact, right? An iron rod? Kuan Yu guessed, but in the next moment, he was stunned. Screech! A cry could be heard, and the temperature increased drastically. A phoenix phantom appeared beside the demon emperor, and a flaming spear surrounded by terrifying heat. This was the immortal emperor treasure that he had lost. Shouldn't it be in the hands of Jiang Changkong? Why was it in the hands of the demon emperor? Kuan Yu looked at the heaven-devouring python, questioning him. The heaven-devouring python's expression was filled with excitement and admiration. At that time, the demon emperor appeared and scared Jiang Changkong away. Kuan Yu! Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Jiang Changkong wasn't afraid of the demon emperor. Could it be that he gave him face and didn't snatch it? If he had known, he wouldn't have run away, and would have waited with the heaven-devouring python for the demon emperor. Kuan Yu had mixed feelings. The two of them were using grade 7 immortal weapons, and they were both given out by him. The two grade 7 immortal weapons released their divine might as they fought, and neither was willing to give in to the other. The demon emperor manifested his golden crow body and controlled the divine phoenix spear. Jiang Changkong used the wu-slaying sword and injected his connate divine might into it. Both of them were experts comparable to immortal emperors. At this moment, the power of the grade 7 immortal weapons was almost fully activated. Boom! It was as if two immortal emperors were fighting. The void was torn apart and the aura of death shook. Countless immortal arrays were destroyed. The two of them passed by each other. Neither was injured, but the power almost scared Kuan Yu and the others. Third move, the demon emperor shouted. The fragments of the chaos bell trembled, and a phantom image formed. The ancient divine bell was surrounded by chaotic aura. The ancient divine weapon showed its divine might again. The void was cracking, and the ground was also splitting apart. Streaks of chaotic aura surged. Rumble! The chaotic aura surged, and the originally unstable ruins were about to disintegrate. The divine bell trembled slightly, and a suppressive power spread out, forcefully stabilizing the ruins. Remember the third move, Jiang Changkong said calmly. The demon emperor sighed. You are indeed my opponent. We can't fight here anymore. If there's a chance, let's continue the third move. The divine bell dimmed, and the chaotic divine power was endless, and it wrapped around the two of them. Jiang Changkong started to increase the demon emperor's power, and he threw the statue to them. Kuan Yu looked at the endless chaotic power and the sun divine fire seriously. He could feel the power of the chaos bell. The demon emperor was using his full strength? Was the outcome going to be decided soon? He was about to take back everything and wash away the humiliation. The heaven-devouring python was extremely nervous, and it looked at Kuan Yu fiercely. If this trash demon master dared to do anything, it would bite him half to death. After waiting for an hour, the power of both sides gradually dissipated. The ground collapsed, chaotic aura surged in, and space was torn apart. The chaotic aura surged, wanting to assimilate the ruins. Two figures sat in the void, talking and laughing. Kuan Yu, you are lying to me. How is this a battle? This is clearly a chat. Bullsh *T. The demon emperor got up, came to Kuan Yu's side, and threw the three people of the divine court to Jiang Changkong. He stepped onto Kuan Yu's back with the two immortal kings of the heavenly court. Demon Master, let's go. Demon Emperor, what about Jiang Changkong? Kuan Yu was a little confused. Didn't they agree to kill Jiang Changkong? My and Jiang Changkong's strength has reached the limit of this place. Once we use the Bell of Chaos, this place will definitely be destroyed. The Demon Emperor explained patiently, once we attack, the chaos will flood this place, and the Demon Master will be in danger. Once the Demon Emperor and Jiang Changkong fought, it would shake the chaos and cause chaotic turbulence. The Demon Master and the heaven-devouring python didn't dare to think further. At that time, there was no second possibility other than death. At least, they couldn't resist the chaotic turbulence. Although Kuan Yu was disappointed, he could only say fiercely, count that Jiang Chongkong lucky. He was a little unhappy that he didn't become the fisherman. Jiang Chongkong left the ruins with Ji Chang'an and the others. As soon as he got out, he changed direction and left. He didn't want to face the God Emperor of the Divine Court or the immortal emperors of other forces. That monkey Sun Wuxuan didn't know that he was the Demon Emperor's main body, and he definitely wouldn't be lenient. Seeing them come out, the immortal emperors hurried forward to welcome them. The people of the immortal court had ugly expressions. None of their people came out. "I have found the way to open the underworld," the Demon Emperor said indifferently. Sun Wuxuan said happily, "Good, as expected of the Demon Emperor. You made a great contribution the moment you took action." The Demon Emperor smiled, glanced at the people of the immortal court, and left in a war chariot. The others all returned, but their expressions were ugly.